G'day, Doggies fans, all things Bulldogs. Welcome to the podcast. How are you all? Oh, my camera. Probably look better like that. There we go. So welcome everyone so far. G'day, Gratitude. He's on. Hello, Gratitude. The Kennel Pod. Oh, there's me microphone. Is that better? Cover half me face. G'day, Nops. And yes, congratulations to the Doggies. Brian, I know you were probably pretty, heated. You can't control yourself when you read the team list and saw our best 17 there and didn't think it was our best 17. And thanks, Brian. That's a good start. Trying is what it's all about, because I was born to try. All right. G'day, Mr. It's me. Top three, how good? That's it, my friend. G'day, Marty. Hey, Dave. How you going? Welcome. And g'day, Knox Corvus. And welcome to the champion, Timothy Gray. Oh, good, bro. We'll see how in a good mood you are. We've got a lot to talk about. We'll wait for a few more people to get on, or I've already got 17. That's pretty good. But I'll do the thing. Let's subscribe, join my podcast. Show me the money. I'm going to get some pizza and enjoy this potty. Hopefully those rival podcast 6 again trolls don't ruin it. Oh, they won't ruin it, mate. I'll embrace it. I went to the club. I let them know what they thought. And look, my advice to the club was and the club will do whatever it does. But my advice to the club in regards to the 6 again podcast was that they're very young, they're very immature. And basically to maybe get him in there to meet the guys and tell Lachlan Galvin and the group how distracted they are, and tell Galvin how he's a cancer on the club, and tell them all those things that they said, because maybe they might then sort of calm down a little bit. It's different when it's in your face, and don't I know it? And believe me, it's been in my face from time to time. So we'll beat the Underwater Pretenders this week. I don't know, mate. Look, one of our old friends of the show, we might not see too many times more. Tipped the Sharks to be minor premiers, and look, he had every right to. They've been building for a long time. They've got a really good squad. They don't lose many players to Origin. They're real. This guy on the screen here, Mulatalo, as much as I want to hate him all the time, I think he's one of the best players in the comp when he's on. And, they've got some strike everywhere. So, but if Nico Hines, I hate to say it, if he plays timid and if he backs himself and goes at full pelt, they can do a lot. But we'll see what happens. I think they'll be picking a big pack. As again, they'll be trying to go through us and crunch through us, and we weather that storm, and then we take it from there. G'day, Richard. Oh, welcome. Nice to see you, mate. I hope you enjoy it. G'day, Scary. Welcome. Thanks for being a member. Yeah, I saw the Reece Walsh video. I thought I'd try it out. But yeah, it hasn't helped with my recovery. I was going to paint my nails as well. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I like the fact that he doesn't care. Some of my favourite people paint their nails. My missus, a few rockers and stuff, Timmy, who do you think will win the New South Wales Cup competition? Timmy, I really don't care. So that's terrible. Only because I love you, Timmy. I've checked out. It's actually a good time to watch people coming through? Is there someone the Dogs might be looking at? Are there any Queensland Cup players when we get that? I love watching the club championship on grand final day. That's one of my highlights. I love watching that. The Queensland team versus the New South Wales team. I think it's a great concept. But I've just checked out. The Parramatta team is almost in my opinion, they're like a Bulldogs NRL side from 2019. Pardon me. But sorry, mate. I just don't know. I think Warriors obviously really hard to beat. I think they've got a fantastic side. And the Dragons will be a lot harder to beat than the side that we smashed on the weekend, which was fantastic to watch. That was the grand final for me. Dogs versus Dragons, New South Wales Cup, and the Dogs versus Dragons in Jersey Flegg. To win both of those games was pretty special. And both sides finished the season with 2 wins and have all put themselves in the picture for bigger things. Unfortunately, we said goodbye to a lot of players from our club that night, and some we don't know yet. From juniors and that sort of thing, we're saying their goodbyes, going to other clubs or doing other things. So always a sad night. Are they 40 years old? Bullshit. They're not 40 years old, are they? What the? They're not 40 years old. I know one bloke looks about 40. Like the one who loses his shit all the time, wants to fight everyone. I think he's hilarious. Look, I've had times where I've just loved watching them. But yeah, if they want to troll me, that's fine. It's not going to bother me at all. They're losing their audience. Their YouTube numbers are shit, but there's no. Look, YouTube's not for where they want to be anyway, but yeah, people are tuning out because it's just the same old fucking shit. We win, we're the greatest supporters in the world. The Bulldogs in 2025 are looking to do something special. And then they all, parade themselves around as the fucking best of this and the best of that. I didn't mind that. And there's, and Hectic Fred, I couldn't care. If he could troll me, I still love watching him. Couldn't care. He's the best supporter out of the lot. Hectic Fred, better supporter than me. Most entertaining as well. Absolutely brilliant. I'll just sit there and listen to him all day. Some of the other guys, yeah, just good on them. Hopefully they get success. They might get to run a company one day and see how good they go. The Donkeys fired one of the donkeys. The Donkeys fired one of the donkeys. What about Princess Walsh? She was there. Oh, yes. So Shibasaki was pissing it up, turned up to training drunk on Monday. Back to his old ways, I guess, and he's been dropped. But Dean Mariner, in really good form. It's not a big loss for them. They will choke against the Panthers Roosters. We'll see. G'day one more time. Welcome. We'll get stuck into this in a moment as our little audience builds. It's building nicely. Timmy says we picked up some quality players from the Warriors system at the beginning of the year. We sure did, matey. Warriors New South Wales going good. Kia ora, Mick. Kia ora to you, Tai. Gratitude. Callum Ponga in secret conversation with the Sydney club. Yeah, the Triple M thing. Callum Ponga is in a secret conversation with a Sydney club reported today. It's not the Roosters. Would you like him at the Dogs? If Kalen come for 700 or 800 grand and proved to the team and to the coach that all he cares about is rugby league and winning a comp, and that's all he cares about, and he's willing to go into fucking camp every single weekend for 3 days or whatever it is and leave his other life behind, no problem. I don't think the Dogs, but if he wants to, he won't become an heir on 1.4 million. No way. What is it? A 42% win rate with Kalen, 38% win rate without Kalen. And that's, look, I never make it about one person, right? But I've always felt that outside of that 10-game winning streak, see, when he had that genuine connection with Lachlan Fitzgibbon on that left-hand edge, they were dynamic, okay? But he just hasn't had the same. They've tried to bring players in there, and they've got quality there, but they just haven't combined as well. That's what I mean. Like, some players are forge careers, they're based on a connection that they have with one or two other players in a team, and it's never ever replicated again. Like, these things happen. Coaches aren't going to talk about that, and a lot of people aren't going to talk about that shit. But it's all there. But I will let you know of something that's coming up. So on Thursday, I'll be in another state, and I'll be looking to record a video, probably over this format, over StreamYard. It won't be live though, with the rugby league coach. And Lee has, obviously he's coached a lot of players in the NRL. Got a lot of, Ronaldo Mulitalo being one of them. In his early days, he's been a high school coach for schoolboy footy, coach Poland, assistant coach to Matty Elliott at the Panthers before Gus sacked him. I think he was at Manly under Des. He was Noel Cleal and him were coaches together. So he knows what he's talking about, especially when he watches a game. He doesn't always watch the games though. So we're going to watch and analyse some rugby league games. He'll be watching the Bulldogs versus the reserve grade Panthers from last week. Now, that's just for us to talk about that. And what you'll hear on that is him basically telling me I'm wrong a lot and me asking him some questions to justify that. And that's the whole thing, because as you know, guys, when I say something, I've generally got context behind it. And what I find with the rugby league media, in the media sphere, they just use words such as attitude, intensity, weren't in the game. They were, these sorts of things, they were blown away. They had no answer, So, look, media are going to take advantage of the fact. So when the team lists come out today, that upsets some people, right? Because that's what people see, a team list, and they think these are the players that should be there and these are the players that shouldn't. For a lot of people, NRL fans, hundreds of thousands of them are like riding the highs of lows of that with lots of different sides. And that's why media plays to that sort of drum, That's why they're talking about Marnie should be starting, and many people believe that. So, but I talked a little bit about that this afternoon, and all I can say I'll leave it at this: if we go out in straight sets in any fashion, doesn't matter. People are going to, and Marnie's not the hooker. People are going to use that as an excuse. They're going to use the Sexton and Galvin thing as an excuse. Even people who don't want to use it as an excuse might even fall onto that, because it's just the easiest thing to do. But all I would say is, why would this coach who says, I don't care what the fans say, I don't care what Andrew Johns says, I don't care what Matthew Johns or Cooper Cronk or whoever say, or whatever coach from whatever era said, they don't care. And it's got nothing to do with their ego. It's got to do with what's best for the team and the club every single time a team lines up. Every time. And in hindsight, they might look back on things and go, maybe, but I doubt it. They'll just do a review like they do every single year, which Gus will tell you. They all review their own jobs. They all get reviewed, including Gus. And they'll pull it apart and they'll say, yada, yada, yada. And they'll be honest about their performance, just like the players are asked to be honest about their performance. And sometimes the honesty of a performance is always, for the most part, is more damning from the player than the coach. But sometimes that doesn't happen either, where a player can't see their feedback. And some of those players, are holding the team back and holding themselves back. And that's at every club, okay? But when you hear some of these stories from different clubs, you understand it's just not everything's supposed to be perfect all the time, and you just got to go on the ride with it, enjoy it. And if you're right, you're right. Like New South Wales selections every year, I'm like, oh, they keep picking the wrong team, blah blah blah. But at Canterbury, I just club first, team second, individual third. If it isn't something nice to say for me about the club, I'm just not going to say it because I'll let other people work that out. All right. Thanks, bro. Ponga 800K max. The right price, right attitude, absolutely. I don't think anyone would offer Carlin 1.4 a year. Nah, you're probably right, Scary. Crypto Gypsy, g'day, Mick, up the mighty dogs. Yeah, well, look, Dylan Brown, good on him. Good on him for getting that, Brian. But I know what you mean. Mainstream is just so difficult to stomach, to be honest. And Scary 79, that is a beautiful Holden. Yeah, what's he got there? Is that a Tirana or a Kingswood? I can't fucking tell. Tell me what it is, because I had both. But they were just cards to me. Mainstream, Timmy. Depending on the results this weekend, you think at a minimum 2 to 3 changes made to the side. I think between 1 and 3, yeah. So minimum 1. Big chance though he rolls out with that 17 though. And we'll talk about why I think that's the case. 3 HQ 1 tonner. Well, there you go. It's a HQ. Beautiful. I had an imitation Tirana Sunbird. And we did it up like it was a Tirana, but could barely carry the fucking spoilers on it. I think the kit was worth more than the car back in the day. 327 balanced blue printed. Lots of fun in a ute with that much grunt. I drove a Ford LTD once, an ex-police car. It's like a limo thing. Had skulls on the locks. Nearly crushed it. It was so powerful. G'day, Chris. Hi, everyone. Who is the dog signing for 2026, may I ask? We have Leo Thompson next year. We've also signed a couple of young fellas. We've also got, what's his name? Kay Dykes from the Sharks. So to me, he's a big signing and an important signing for us. Mick Crows will be back first week of the finals, early mail. Yeah, look, I think there's I think that'll be the intention, and I think it'll be talked about, and whether he does or not will depend on a last minute thing. But if he can play, he'll play for sure. And he goes good against Melbourne every time. He just does well in that game, always. So, although no, I'd leave him till the second week if he's not right, but we'll see what happens there, man. I also think that we might see Harry at least, I think, by week 2, maybe even week 1. Harry. Which will mean someone will drop out. Many will say Curran. Curran, I really liked the performance of Curran and Salmon in the first half last week. Definitely a response in the way they hit the ball. But for Salmon, he chased everything. He was the first there for kick chase. So was Curran. The kick chase was brilliant. Even though I don't care who they're playing against. It doesn't change anything. The effort was there to the point where Salmon tried too hard and was actually annoying me in the end for trying too hard. Got to play 40 minutes. So, I didn't really do a review of that match, but myself and Lee Addison, the rugby league coach, will be me and he'll be doing a lot of reviews and analysing some of these games together, so that you can really get a critic's view, but not just a fan critic's view. Someone that's actually understands what they're doing at training a lot of the time, and understands the drills and the psychology and the KPIs and all the things that they're looking at, and how it all comes together on the field, how they're, what their weaknesses in defence are. And for him, it can sound really condescending to some people, because he doesn't really take into account each individual's strengths and weaknesses, and we'll probably know them better. What he's more looking at is player A, player B, where they are, where they're standing, and how they go about businesses, and where their vulnerabilities are. And he'll talk about where they've been exposed or what the other team should have done. It's quite interesting listening to it. Me and him disagree on nearly everything, and he's an expert. So probably says more about my bias than him, but I'm unashamedly biased towards my team. It's a choice, and people need to understand that. It's not because I don't see, it's what I choose to see. But at least, when I give you another side to the story, I will give you reasons for it. I'm not just going to say this is what I think and leave it at that. I'll give you reasons for it. And that's a lot better than the crap you get from the media, on the most part. Some of them don't even watch the games. They just watch the highlights and get heaps of views on their, for their advertisers, because of what they do. So welcome to everyone who's joined. We're getting some numbers here now, which is fantastic. Trindle name, despite getting injured last week, definitely need the direct traffic his way on Saturday night. 100%. He's struggled all year, Trindle, but he played all right the other day. I want the U to close the blue to the Bulldogs blue, but my dad wanted that colour. Oh, you got to go with the old man, Scary. You spoke to Crows yesterday. He's recovering better than expected. It's falling down already. It'll be first week or guaranteed second week. Yeah, that's it, I thought, mate. Chris, what do you think of the Bulldogs girls? They need more experienced signings. Yeah, look, they started well. I've found that every game that they've played, their starts have been, although they have been the problem, like the speed of the games put them under pressure early, and as they sort of made mistakes, and then those first couple of games are able to keep it close early on, whereas in a lot of these other games they haven't been able to stem the flow and have been blown away pretty early. And that just comes with being a new side, and they deliberately blooded a lot of young girls. I nearly said chicks. They're like little young chickies. I'm going to need to put the fan up because I'm fucking hot in here, which is a good sign. But going to Melbourne on Friday, it's going to be interesting. So just be a sec. Hey, everybody. I just want to say that I'm pissed off that the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs were handed 2 points just because Ivan felt sorry for Cameron Ciraldo, bro. Welcome back. That was Buzzy come through. We're missing Habib and Harry. We are. Can you hear properly? Is that fan too noisy? If it is, let me know. Crows shut Coates down hard. Crows will be key in the finals. Yeah, well, Brian, look, I look at that very openly. Coates didn't get the same service. And look, this isn't about Tuala, okay? But I just want to put context always. First kick they put up, Coates was never going to be contesting that properly. They wanted a repeat set early. That it wasn't on the try line. He wasn't going to score if he caught it. If Coates catches it, we put him into touch, or he offloads it, and they might do something. Deliberately let Carraz catch it, knowing the Dogs would have been practicing that all week and that Jacob can do that. But, yeah, definitely some play. I'm not taking away from what Carraz did in that game, but Coach didn't get the service that he normally would, and that's because of the way we played, especially that second half, the way we played that game. They only got a roll on through that. They got a quick play. It was a really good effort from Oitika Manu, isolated Galvin, and then they got a dummy half run. Harry Grant's probably his biggest contribution in the whole game. His best contribution was one dummy half run early, which they ended up taking them down the field. They got repeat sets and then ended up getting a try. Because those plays matter when they're done at the right time. But, yeah, their back three isolated were definitely running at Bailey Hayward. You know, so I've probably already done the fucking review. But the point is, when they've got that control and they've got that speed to play the ball and they get to play through the middle like they do and leave markers stranded and that sort of stuff, that's when kicks happen. And if you watch the Roosters game, we couldn't slow them down because we didn't have the ability to with the team that was out there. And they got their asses kicked for, you know, not training hard and all that. We've talked about all that. And it's part of the reason why they're not resting players. Hell will freeze over before Serrato is going to rest these players until they've won comps, right? Until they've proved, you know, if they're in Canberra's position where they can't lose the minor semi-final, they've won the minor premiership, they've defeated Penrith on the way through, beaten the Storm, beat the Roosters again. You know, if they've done all that, then you'd be like, well, these guys have proved that they can win the big games. I'm happy. I'm confident they're going to go and do that in the finals now. Okay, I'll give them a break because they've got it secured. But in this scenario where they've got to travel to Melbourne next week, no. They need to go out there and prove to him that they can go out there and win. And, you know, you've only got to win 3 games in a row. You can lose the first one, win 3 in a row, and you win a comp. You got to win 3 in a row. We've done that. We won 7 in a row. We beat the Raiders. The only team in the 8 that hasn't beaten them, that's beaten them is us. They won a half 20-0. We won the other half 32-0. All points scored down the one end of the field. So, yeah, lots happening here. Lots happening. Salmon played a great game, I thought, same as Curran. But, yeah, I agree. Salmon did overdo it a bit. Yeah, you could just see it was just the effort was there. So, obviously, he's had a kick up the arse because you go back to the other games. He's doing his normal stuff, right? But he's not as desperate or present everywhere. Whereas you watch Kurt Mann when he comes on, it's just flat out from the time he comes on till the time he goes off. And because we don't have a 13 that's like an Isaiah Yeo or a Cameron Murray or whoever, we use 2. Now, that'll change eventually. You know, so this small ball stuff, and, you know, I've made references to Total Football. I'm seeing if I can get a very patriotic piece put in Zero Tackle. I've had 2 articles already, all from the Bulldog stuff. You know, if you can't beat the media, go join them. But look, yeah, that's what I'll be looking to do, is to provide added context to some stories, and I think I've can add some value there, and I'll try. So that's what I'll be trying to do. And we've had a couple of goes at it, and they've both done pretty well. Although there's a couple of mistakes. There's a mistake in each one due to, well, the second one I've been working on for over 2 years. Well, not 2 years, but since last year. And the other one, I left an old score in it. So I got the score wrong, but it's okay. That's fine. But, yeah, what we want to talk about is how this team will continue to evolve. Now that they go out there and win this comp, all right, the value of everyone goes up. which is a good thing, good problem to have. People prove that they're worthy of extra contracts. They've got to weigh that up with youngsters coming through. That will definitely affect some youngsters. But at the same time, it has another effect as well, where it's like we can't go anywhere. If we want to win a comp, we've got to stay with this club. We've got to prove to them why we need to be picked as juniors, because this coach has turned this club from that into that. These players that he brought have helped turn this club from struggling to get a sponsor to winning a comp. You know, that's the ideal. That's what they're all going for, and they're going to give us every effort to do so. Are they proven, though? Definitely not. And that might lead us into some chat about last year's semi-final again, because when it comes down to it, we had that game won, and some people under fatigue weren't able to control what they did and handed the game away, essentially. I've spoke about it in many different ways. I've defended everyone out there because I believe they 100% all gave their best, but some proved themselves that they weren't up to it. But there's a whole bunch of them there that'll. The point is they should have went 1 week further and been able to test themselves against the next level, which would have been the Roosters in semi-finals. In probably the Roosters' best season that they'd had since they got rid of Kyle Flanagan, funnily enough. And the point I'm making is if these players could have had that opportunity then, that actually would have done a lot more for as far as our stability going forward, because it would have answered a lot of questions and would have taken us they would have had a lot more momentum from that. And they come out and they win 7 in a row. Like, great job. And did a fantastic job this year. 3rd in the comp. Can't ask for any more than that. I can't. But I think they still have to prove themselves. And that's why he's not letting them get away with, you deserve a rest. Now, for me, I don't like the resting, but under the rules, I'm happy that they can do it. If they want to use the rules of the game, that's fine. But no matter what you do, you're going to get people resting players always. So don't forget Montoya's great in the air, as slow as he is, great under the ball, one of the best. Also, look, our players aren't slow, Brian. They're just sometimes there's just individuals in other teams that outpace them. I would say that Montoya can be heavy-footed under fatigue, but I thought he was magnificent against those against the Storm the week before. On his return, he was absolutely brilliant, and he did nothing wrong on the weekend as well. But to me, that Penrith game, I'm going to review it and give you more on it in a few days when I cut it together and show it to you. But it'll be me and Lee, and we'll be arguing about some stuff. I can tell you that now. But just an early preview, 3.9 second play the ball speed. You just, you just got no room for your playmakers, and your hookers struggling to get stuff done anyway. And even when Reid come on at the end, like people, we're better when Reid come on. Like, didn't you see the stats that when Bailey Hayward was coming on, we were averaging 22 points, and when Reid was starting, we were averaging 5. But now they swap roles, and it's like, we're doing better when Reid's on. Maybe it's got something to do with the time of the fucking game and the game's opened up. Like, do you ever think of that? Unbelievable. Like, use your brains. Reid's the best hooker in our club, and next year he would be the best hooker in our club. But Reid's I'd say Reid thinks he's an 80-minute player, and I'd say that the Bulldogs, from round 7, they hooked him. Started that process along. Give him an opportunity in that Broncos game, had some moments. And, so he's no longer with us. I'm sure he's happy now. I'm sure the players and Reid are all, like, happy with the decision. and, they're going to try and win a comp for each other before he leaves. So, I love the guy. Might not sound like it, but honesty's love as well, So I think he'll be an asset to the Cowboys, and he'll make them a tougher team to beat. Nice, Mick. Looking forward to that. Sounds very interesting. Cheers, bro. Buzz the Clown. Can't hear the fan. Thanks, Tahi. What day do you think Dogs will play Storm? They will play them on a Friday, I believe. So the Storm will get an 8-day turnaround as the second place team and the home team, and we'll get a 6-day turnaround because it just doesn't work out. They could play us on the Saturday and we would get it, but I expect the Warriors will play on the Saturday. The Sunday game will be the Raiders game. So it'll be Raiders versus Broncos, or Raiders versus Sharks, or Raiders versus Warriors. And that'll be a Sunday. That could change things if Warriors come forth. Then you have Storm Bulldogs, which has to be a Friday or Saturday. It won't be a Sunday. And then you've got, so Broncos play on Thursday. And I think, what day do Roosters play? Let's have a look at this draw, shall we? Roosters play Friday. So if Broncos play Thursday and Friday, so I'd say if Roosters beat South and Broncos beat, or the Storm beat the Broncos, it'll be probably a Broncos-Roosters game on a Friday night. And I reckon it'll be the Bulldogs-Storm, the second game on the Friday night. Then I think the Saturday game would be the Panthers versus the Sharks if the Bulldogs beat the Sharks. But if the Sharks beat the Bulldogs, it'll be Raiders versus Sharks. And Saturday it'll be Warriors versus Panthers in New Zealand, potentially. Or it could be Broncos versus Panthers and Warriors versus Roosters. So many things can happen, which is fantastic. And we could have the Dolphins in there. Roosters lose to South, which is a possibility. It can happen. Storm beats the Broncos. Sharks beat the Bulldogs. Lots of different things can happen. But I think we'll play on a Friday night, my friend. I think it's almost guaranteed. G'day, Tony. Welcome, and thanks for being a member, my friend. Up the doggies. Let's go again, lads. Final statement loading before the finals. Well, I think that's what Serraldo will be wanting. Go out there, play hard, play tough. Go take the game on, implement our systems. Don't throw. See, this is another thing people talk about too. Every time I think about stuff, I sort of hear shit that people, like criticisms all the time that come up everywhere through all of the channels that I post on and stuff. And one of the criticisms is, he keeps hitting the lead runner. Galvin keeps hitting the lead runner. Burton and Galvin have got no creativity. He creates no space. Well, Galvin's got the second most line engagements in the comp behind Isaiah Katoa. Two of the youngest players in the game are taking it to the line the most and the most often out of any other player. That's designed to create space, and the way that they straighten and the speed of the way they do it is also very important. Now, when a player keeps going with the lead runner or keeps turning it into the second, the next player, and they're continually either running it straight or running it back under, that's by design, because people go, but there's a little half chance if they threw it out, if they cut out the center, or they go, try and get a 2-on-1 down the edge for Montoya. right? The thing is, a lot of those plays, if you just go out there and start doing them, and you don't execute it perfectly, you give up field position, you lose control, and you let teams off the hook because it's just a lower percentage play. But you keep bringing it into the middle and just get the flow of the game happen in a certain way, sort of like a tennis rally. You just get in the rally, you just keep hitting your forehand, keep going, bang, 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 bang. Then you go one down the line eventually, and you get them used to a certain way of play. Then you serve and volley. It's all about strategy and repetition and getting teams used to a certain flow of play. And then when it counts, you do something different. You do pull their pants down when they least expect it. We did that to the Sharks. We actually showed them things that they're like, we'll be ready for that next time. And we showed them some things that we went to replicate in other games that haven't come off because teams were ready for it. So if you show a team too much, too early, you've definitely got to have some other tools in your kit bag, or other teams work it out big time. It's like the Parramatta Eels have got this brilliant move where they're basically doing a run around with Paulo, and they've done it. They've scored tries off it, but they've kept doing it and been pretty successful. I think they've scored about 4 tries with it this season. But team, they did it against us. We knew about it, and they just had nothing. We just shut it down easily. But other teams, they've pulled their pants down with it. So I agree. Penrith players have played Origin Test matches, 5 grand finals. They have earned a rest. That's right, they have. And listening to Nathan Cleary, good point, Dave. He basically conceded that they could not risk playing Canterbury, and Gasson will be home on Thursday, which would be fantastic. Don't break the fence. The best banner in the kennel. Make sure if you see him there at the game, go say hello. Him and his son. It says Bulldogs wall, keep out. Now, look, those players, and Nathan Cleary said, sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. The hardest game by far that they've played this year was against the Bulldogs. Like, it took nearly everything out of them. They had a really good... We sort of played Parramatta. They played Parramatta. They played Wests. And both games were just grind set for set. I'm not talking when they smashed West. I'm talking about the game before that. So it was Penrith versus West the weekend that it was Bulldogs versus Para. And then... Para gave him a really good test the week before. It was really close for 60 minutes with the Bulldogs with Para. So all these teams are playing a keep the ball in play type of game, real grinding game. And they just felt that, they haven't burnt the way they did in that game. They hadn't had a team take them as far when they're sort of been close to their best. I don't think they were at their best that game, Penrith, but I think they were getting pretty close to it. And probably knowing the Dogs have got a few more roster changes and they'll be very, very hard to beat to the point where they'll be chasing us. So that's what I hope anyway. They didn't want to have to they know that if they played us at a core, they were going to be taken on, giving the fight of their lives. Our boys are going to be up for it. And win or loss, they risked losing a game that they'd been to Golden Point twice before that, lost 12-point lead, something that they had never done in their era. Like, I think they've only given up a 10-point lead 4 times in the last 6 years, right? It happened twice in 2 weeks against the first and second place team in the comp. And they felt that they should have won both games, and they lost them. So they knew they couldn't be taken. They had to rest their players. It's as simple as that. They've done the right thing for themselves, no doubt. Do I agree with it? if the rule, I don't think the rules should allow that, but I think they deserve it more than anyone else, and they've earned it. And all the criticism of them because it handed the Bulldogs 2 points. Well, let's see how much criticism the Raiders get this week, Buzz. You wanker. No, I love Buzz. So we're doing some stuff. Me and D, we're getting some stuff happening for Buzz 360, and Jammer's going to be on there. So I heard something about Buzz had this dream that him and Jammer were commentating the semi-final, and the Bulldogs were beating the Storm by 22-10 and 10 minutes to go, and Buzz was just losing his shit, but Jammer was just giving it to everyone. It was the best night of his life. So, yeah, I'd love to see that and hear it. And you might on if you stay tuned. Something to come. Boys. Anyway. Sometimes his accent goes from English to Scottish to Irish into Arnold Schwarzenegger. So I think they've got to get that voice right for Jammer. But anyway, it's going to be fun to listen to. I can promise you that. Brian says, I'd listen to Cameron Smith. Australia doesn't know more than Smith, especially about hooking. I'll tell you something, Brian. I'll tell you this now. Cameron Smith isn't a coach. I know he basically ran that Storm operation. He's probably the greatest player of all time in what he was able to do with what he had. And he slowed the game down. He played the game at his pace. Something Darren Lockyer was able to do. To me, Darren Lockyer is an immortal before Andrew Johns in that sense. But Andrew Johns could defend way better than Darren Lockyer, which set him apart. And the reason none of them are coaches, I'll tell you why, because they don't know how to tell people to do what they did naturally. They don't. If you really listen to them, it's all cookie cutter shit for the media. It's all, yeah, well, I think Reid Marnie should be. Everybody's saying that. Just because Cameron jumps on board, you get Cameron's tips every week. Oh, I think it's going to be the doggies. I think the doggies are going to be it. And then someone will say, but you voted the other team in the paper. And be like, oh, did I? Oh, okay, well, the Sharks will win. But I was actually thinking the doggies might win now. Like he has a great life, Cameron Smith. I'm not saying he knows more than fucking me, because I'm not saying I know more than him, because I don't. And what he's put his body through, and the fact that he hardly ever got injured, the preparation he must have put himself through. Like, I hated his fucking guts. But off the field, I think he's a absolute. I like listening to him. I like the way he talks. But when it comes to he doesn't get in depth, guys. Like, he doesn't tell you how A gets to B and how B gets to C and how C gets to D. Like, he just doesn't do it. None of them do. Cooper Cronk's probably the best at that. Matty Johns sometimes. Cronk gives you the most out of anyone. He gives you more than Sterling did. But still, they don't tell you everything. And they won't. They keep us in this space where we say comments like that, Brian, which is fair enough. But I'd listen to Cameron Ciraldo over Cameron Smith when it comes to the Bulldogs. He's there every day. He knows why Reid Marnie's not in the team. Cameron doesn't. And it's got nothing to do with his ego or with anything like that. It's got everything to do with the team and what they think. Because there's leaders in that team that would have a say in what happens. And if you listen to Cameron Ciraldo, what's the word he mentioned more than any other word since he come to the club? Not as much this year, but he used it a lot last year and the year before. Connection. And that goes both ways. People will say, okay, well, Marnie's obviously been there in that role. He should have the connection. Connection comes with trust. Why do you think they've been going on those camps every week? As I said to you, it is unprecedented, except for maybe one team outside of it. If the betting agencies gave you the stats on not just experience of every team that rolls out, but the amount of games they've played together, that team wins 8 out of 10 times. But the odds don't always reflect that. The odds don't always reflect that. In fact, that they won't a lot of the time. So you'll be having teams on at big odds that under this other system would be the favourites because they're the most connected. And Canterbury are the least connected team in the comp. They're more connected than the Dolphins now because Dolphins had some personnel changes. Bulldogs have, kept a good core now for a couple of years. That's building up, and they've got juniors coming through together, which adds to it all, right? But you're talking about Penrith and Storm, who've got players that have been developed in their system and used for half a decade. For the Penrith Panthers, you're talking a decade. You're talking 10 years of connection. And these players, a lot of them have still got another 4 or 5 years to go at a minimum. So anyone who writes that off isn't looking at the big picture, because I did the stats. I was able to easily pick the first 2 rounds and I got one wrong. And guess who that team was? It was Canterbury. Based off those stats, right? And the TAB wouldn't want you to have those stats because why? Because it'd be too easy. Nah. And that's why it's hard to get those stats. It took me a good 3.5 months, spending an hour or 2 a day, just plotting shit out. Right? So it's not foolproof, and the Bulldogs have proven it. But I ask, how was he able to prove that? Through a system that he's got, through all the coaching that he's done, all the learnings that he's taken, all the losses he's had, all the mistakes he's had. And this might go down as one of those mistakes, Brian. I'm not saying it won't, but I'm not going to care either way. I'm going to back the coach to make a mistake and learn from it, which he's done plenty of times. Learning from a mistake doesn't happen in game to game to game to game to game, because if that what that ends up as, and this guy knows way more than I ever would, but Adam O'Brien, and go look at the common denominator of all the coaches that have been sacked in the last 5 years, starting at Trent Barrett. Okay, just start at Trent Barrett and work back till now. And then tell me, what was the main position they swapped and changed around the most? I'll tell you straight up, it was their halfbacks and their number 6s. Okay? Either some through injury, but for the most part, through scapegoating, they're playmakers because of the pressure of their clubs, their administrations, and everything else, and their fan bases. And the one thing I love about Serrato, the one thing I love about Gus and our board now, and everyone involved in it, is that they have their says. A couple of people make the calls. Board ratifies things, But the main point is they don't listen to what we have to say. They don't give 2 shits what an ex-player's got to say. They don't care. And I'd back that any day, because we know that if the Bulldogs lose this week, then they go out and lose a semi-final week 1 and go out in straight sets, or whatever it happens. Brian, you're probably going to come here and say Serrato was arrogant and it was his fault because he brought in Lachlan Galvin or put Bailey Hayward to hooker, or played an Ari Tuala on the wing, or didn't start Kurt Mann and left Salmon in there. In your mind, that's what I'm not being nasty to you here. I'm just telling you, that's going to be the narrative, man. And the media is going to tell you you're right. They're going to tell you you're right. And that Serrato should have put his pride to one side. No. No. Not at all. It just means we weren't ready, we weren't good enough, and we didn't win. That's it. They'll review it. They'll come again next year, and we'll be better for it. And we won't have Reid Marnie, which will be a shame because he would have been good for us next year as well, because he still would have been the best hooker in our club come next year. But he's checked out. He's on his way out, and that's the end of it. If he doesn't get picked to start, he doesn't get picked to start. I'd do it. I would have kept Sexton. I would have done all these things. You know why? Because I don't have the balls that Serrato's got to actually understand what needs to be done for the benefit of the team and the club, and to back themselves to do it. And if you think that team hasn't rallied behind Lachlan Galvin, you're wrong. All right? So, and Bailey Hayward is one of the most favourite players in the team that they trust the most. And they understand he's still young too, and he's on a development journey like they all are. And he's still got stuff to prove as well. He's not there yet. So people can argue till they're blue in the face. At the end of the day, I'm going to back the coach. And, you know, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Stability is everything to me. And that's all I care about. This club being stable and having, you know, the fortitude to carry through with their convictions always. It's got nothing to do with pride. If Gus isn't going to say we need this coach for 30 years because he's got an ego and that he, you know, doesn't listen to anyone. Because I can tell you now, if Serrato didn't get challenged by people, they wouldn't be working in the club. And if Serrato wasn't challenging people, including his players, you know, he'd be gone. And if they can't take it, they go too. You can't surround yourself with yes people. Yet everybody in the media makes out that that's what a Gus Gould run situation is. But what do you think Nathan and that still have a lot of respect for Gus? Like, Gus is an enigma with heaps of people. They say he's one of the hardest people to sort of lock down. You know, he could have had the best conversation for 3 hours, laughed your head off, and then not hear again from him for 10 years. He's just focused on what he does, and that's all that matters. He just works 24/7. And, you know, I probably wouldn't even agree with half of what he agrees with in his life. I wouldn't probably fight with him tooth and nail. Probably wouldn't even like him. But I do know that he knows about building football clubs, and that's better than anyone else we've had in a very, very long time. So there you go. Gav, welcome. Thank you. Yeah, this is the new one, bro. I've got a really big head, Gav. So this is the 770. Satilli's wearing it in the team store, so you know that. But that sweatband stretches. So I can literally make it like tight like a normal person's head or close. Like normally I'm on, you know, I'm on the last bloody thing because I've got a massive skull and that big brain of mine. Yeah, and this bloody hat it's just perfect for me. It just, you know, it stretches and that. I usually get the 59.50, but they've run out of those. That's the problem. It's hard to get things again once they run out. There's a blue version of this as well, which I'm thinking of getting, but it's just an overindulgence, which is me all over, as you can see. Week 1 finals. G'day, D. For the first 2 weeks of finals, there's only one finals game on a Friday night, 2 on a Saturday. Oh, okay, cool. Sorry, I didn't know that. So the Friday night, I think, will be the Bulldogs game, or will be the Saturday game. Friday or Saturday. And the person asked me, is it going to be Friday or Saturday? I think it'll be Friday. But it's just going to depend on what happens with the Broncos and Storm, Sharks and Bulldogs, Warriors, etc. Roosters, Souths, Dolphins game as well. So that will determine what happens. We're playing for this year, not next. We are playing for this year. We're playing for this moment, which is why they've got a team that they believe is the best team to win the game. That the leaders in the club, the leaders in the team believe is the best team. So I wouldn't just say, like Serrato is going to have the final say, and he does have the final say. Anyone who says Gus has the final say in this team is speaking out their ass. Speaking out their ass, because it's not true. Gus does have a say in who, if a Jersey flag player comes up to New South Wales Cup or goes to Ron Massey, or if a player that Serrato hasn't picked, he might say, I want to see him play in a different position in Cup. Or he might say, actually, can you put him on the bench? Because there's another player I want to play in that position. I want to see if from what I'm being told, they could be, he's getting advice all the time, but he's got to decide if he's part of our plans next year or in 4 years' time. So with all this stuff in mind, like it's so hilarious listening to commentators like talking about Penrith. Oh, it cost their New South Wales Cup team a final spot. They couldn't give two fucks. And neither can Canterbury. It actually started happening to us. If we'd won the last couple of games last year, I think we would have made the finals, and we end up losing them. And they'll pick and Sewer and that out of the team to come up. They didn't have to. They're trying to develop NRL quality players for a start, and then hopefully to be Bulldogs. And if they're not Bulldogs, they go to another club, and that's what they try to do. That comes first. So it is about this year. It's about this moment. But if they are seeing in games what you're not seeing, I'll tell you now, and look, I don't blame Marnie for this because I think he's not used to coming on when he does. So I give him so much leeway in that. But that's not to say that the club should or that Serrato should. He should expect him to play his best every time he's out there and to make more right choices than wrong. And it's not always a wrong choice, It might seem like it is, but it's not. But Marnie, in the last couple of games, that try that we got, the last try that Carraz got, I might have said this already, but Burton's screaming for the ball. He gives it to Hughes. Hughes dumps it out of fear out the back. Marnie jumps on it. King gets the dummy half, gives it to Critter. He's like, I got this, bro. Carraz scores. Same last week. All out to the left, all set up. He goes right where we had two players to their 3 or 4. And he did that twice. Now, it's sort of late in the game. They'd already made 100 more tackles than us. They were fatigued. We're going to get them. Then we couldn't. We missed our moment. And it's just like, bloody hell, man. And it was hard enough in that game because they just slowed our ruck criminally, falling everywhere, kicking the ball out all the time, doing everything they could to try and win the match. They were trying to win. Good on them. But they were allowed to do shit they shouldn't have been allowed to do for a start. Didn't help their development one bit. And it just made it so clunky for us. Galvin, that was just under so much pressure all game. People are saying, it's because Hayward was shit. No, I'm pretty sure when we got on a roll and they couldn't slow us down, there was nothing wrong with the delivery. Yeah, it is definitely slower, but it's not that much slower. Really, it's not that much slower. I'd still say Turpin's the second fastest off the ground, but Marnie wasn't showing much urgency at that point either. He was just trying to get the ball where it needed to go. And, but look, I've said it enough times. Marnie's our best hooker in our club at his best. but he's not at his best right now. And, if he gets picked to start, I'll be just as happy. Probably more confident that he's going to rip in and smash some blokes. But, as Serraldo said, we're on a different journey to the other teams. We don't care about them. We care about our team and the players within our group now either reaching their potential or getting much closer to it. And they're not getting a break for that. If they're not there, they're not getting a break. Simple as that. And if they're injured or whatever, train hard. If you can't train hard, you can't play. No excuses. He gave them, going back to that Roosters game, he gave those blokes the opportunity to pull themselves out of the game which no one's going to do. If you play sport, you want to play. It's one of the most depressing things when your sport was called off as a kid. And as you get older, even worse when you get an injury or something, or you get told you're not playing or you're on the bench or whatever. It's the fucking worst thing in the world. It just floods your mind. You can't think of anything else. It's the worst, not being able to play. So understand all this shit. They're not making these decisions because they're dickheads. They make these decisions because they're the best decisions that they believe as a collective group for the team and for the club. And we just have to understand that. What seems obvious to you, heard some really good quotes this week from a good mate of mine. And I wanted to repeat it tonight. Honestly, some of the shit that he said, I could just make a book from it. Second Storm versus third Bulldogs, Friday, 8 p.m. First Raiders. So this is Timmy's, which will probably make a lot more sense. Raiders versus either Broncos, Sharks, Warriors on Saturday. Nah, they're not playing on the Saturday, Timmy. They're playing Sunday, brother. And if I'm wrong about that, I do apologise, and I'll make it up to you. I'll send you a free copy of this book, The Rugby League Coach by Lee Addison. It's got tributes from James Statistical, Ronaldo Mulitalo, Noel Cleal, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Really good book. And that'll be your Christmas present to me if I'm wrong about this. But Raiders, because they play Sunday and they finish first in the comp, they will be playing on Sunday. I can tell you that now. They will play Sunday. They're resting players. So they will play fourth place Broncos, Sharks or Warriors on the Sunday. Because they're not going to have a 6-day turnaround when the Broncos are playing on a Thursday night. Saturday, 13th of 9th, 6th place Broncos, Sharks or Warriors versus 7th place Panthers or Roosters. And fifth place Broncos, Sharks, Warriors versus 8th. Okay. And you think it'll be 8th place Panthers, Roosters, Dolphins on the Sunday the 4th. Nah. When do Dolphins play? So Dolphins play Sunday against the Raiders. So if Dolphins, so Dolphins will be playing. If they win, they're not going to get a 7-day break against teams like the Roosters, Warriors, or Sharks who play on the, or Broncos are all finish ahead of them. They're not going to play. Well, it won't be Roosters, but they're not going to. Those other teams aren't going to be worse off playing the eighth team. But there is a chance it could be Broncos versus Dolphins on a Saturday night. It won't be a Friday, though, because that'll be a 5-day turnaround. So if Dolphins make it, they'll play on the Saturday night. If they don't make it, it can change things again. But Raiders will be playing either the Broncos, Warriors, or the Sharks on the Sunday. And that is my biggest tip that I can give. Sounds great, old Buzz. G'day, Giuseppe. Welcome. If we get to home prelim, our fans will turn out in droves and take it over. I don't see us losing from there. I hope not. Look, I've got a really special feeling about this team and this club that's going to take them a long way. And hopefully that's a win. For me, for them to be able to test themselves against in 3 games would be absolutely amazing. Whether they win that first game and then, win their second game and then they play a grand final, or if they lose the first game, win the next week and then play a prelim, win or lose. I think that's I don't care what people's expectations are. What I care about is them having that opportunity to really test themselves and getting the 2 games, which could see us play. There's so many options, and I think the one that it's hard to, if we lose the first game and the Broncos beat the Raiders and then we win our next game at a core, we would then travel to a preliminary at Suncorp Stadium against the Broncos. Now, there's no bigger test than that. And I'd be going to that game, I reckon. So that's me being a bit selfish. Definitely don't want that. I want us to be at a core for a prelim with 84,000 people there to watch us defeat either... who would we be coming up against? Could be a Broncos, could be a Sharks, could be a Roosters or a probably not a Penrith. Could be. Definitely won't be Storm if we beat them in the first game. That would mean the Storm would have to play the loser of... Sorry, they play the winner of a game. But then in the prelim, if they make it, they would play the loser of the Raiders and whoever came fourth. Sorry, the winner of that game. Fuck, I'm getting all over the shop now. Welcome, Adrian. Good to see you. Agree with the slowing down the ruck. Absolutely ludicrous. The Panthers won the play the ball speed 3.6 to 3.8. Refs manufacture this. Sunday's traditionally elimination final. Yeah, I know, but I think... Well, look, Timmy, big chance you could win this book, mate. Because if D's on the spot like you were, and I'm wrong, I'll be getting you a copy of the Rugby League Coach. And maybe we'll do a book club podcast where we go through different segments, and wouldn't that be lovely? We'll sit on a couch and stream it like we're Oprah. Getting a bit nervous about going to Melbourne just quietly, but anyway. I've caught up to all the chats, and here's the starred chat. Like, subscribe, and join. How are we going with that? How many have you all liked? Have you all liked the podcast today, guys? Apparently, I've got to get used to do it. Apparently, it's what I need. Here he is, Michael. Always late and always sorry. It will be a good crowd, brother. Brian, I've been telling you you're wrong again, Brian. So I'm thinking of starting a new, I'm calling it All Things Bulldogs Media, where I get to unashamedly put out positive articles about the Bulldogs non-stop in conjunction with what they do themselves. Because I reckon I'd be able to, I've been doing it for a couple of months now, just on Facebook groups and stuff, and it's getting a good response most of the time. I dumb it down a little bit, but yeah, we stopped sharing Fox articles and just do our own, and that's how you cut down the noise. But a lot of people want the Fox stuff because, when they see a team list they don't like, and then the News Corp tells them they're right. We all love the media when it makes us feel like we're on the right track. So, yeah, I'm just going to be in them. I'm going to be the media from now on. How's that sound? All Things Bulldogs media. There you go. First thing I do, Mick, is push that like button. You sure do, Tahi. G'day, Jez. Considering what Serrato has achieved in such a short time, I think he should be afforded a bit more trust from our fans. I trust Sarah and I have faith in his decisions. Me too, mate. And I have faith that he'll get some wrong too. But that's part of the process. And understanding that if you, just because your share price has had a little dip, you know, stick with it and make that big return on it. Unless, you know, you got word that they're about to be taken over and announced that they're about to close down or whatever, then you get the fuck out of there. Marty, I think Sarah should have rested some players, including Critter, especially Critter and Burton, but Sarah knows best. Well, they got to lead by example, man. And look, if I was going to rest players, I'd be resting. This is just me, just like you. As a couch coach, I'd be resting Critter, I'd be resting Burton, I'd be resting Hughes, I'd be resting Salmon, I'd be resting Kurt Mann. I wouldn't be resting Satilli, and I wouldn't be resting Kickout because Billy Army is like a well-oiled machine, and he just has to keep ticking over. You know, if you run him, try and run him hot when he's cold, he's not as good. Same with Birdo, to be honest. You watch Birdo come back after a break, he's always a bit clunky and all over the shop. But once he gets humming, like Scary 79's HQ, he's just all power. Someone was trying to tell me that Birdo hasn't fulfilled his potential because he's only had 4 try assists this year. I don't give a fuck about that shit. I really don't. I knew that Toby didn't have many, and I never ever made that big comparison that Galvin was better than Toby because of some stats. That was to help sell the deal and to try and quieten some of the noise. But at the end of the day, it's what they're doing. Burton's running. And look, let's not lie, losing the Fox and that speed's a wonderful thing. And I can imagine how great we would have been with a really fast winger. But Montoya's brought something different to us. And he's been pretty bloody reliable getting those tries when he's had the opportunity. Yeah, there's been times where the Fox would have been gone and he was just catching the ball. I get that. But the way that Burton has taken some pressure off Kickout, the way that Kickout has taken pressure off Cherry and vice versa, the way that Kickout can go out and play as the half sometimes if he wants, that they can interchange. Now you got Galvin who's just getting to the left edge and then back at the right edge before you know it. The fact that Critter's now moving in and swaying from both sides when he feels like it, they're opening up all sorts of doors, and that's only going to help the likes of the Prestons and the Kickouts and the Currans and the Mans, because that is going to ensure that they've just got more eyes on more things. And that's why our system has been good in the way that, you know, if they're out of position, I always say it, if someone takes a run, but they want to run another shape, another person just steps into it. You know, look, it's funny because they said, Des was shaping the game differently when, you know, you had James Graham coming on passing to Cassiano. You know, you had Tolman and whatever else passing to each other. And Clemmer and whoever else are doing those short ball passes and sort of acting as the first receivers, sort of what the Locks are doing now. And the Bulldogs are just using different players for that. Sometimes, you know, we do a shift from one side to the other and 9 players touch the ball. And that's also holding time with the ball as well. It means that when we've got possession, we've got it for longer. which was the stuff that Walker brothers were doing. Their motto was, if a player's in a better position than you, they should have the ball in their hand. So it encouraged support play, it encouraged offloads, encouraged keeping the ball in play, keeping it alive, and it meant you had the ball longer than your opposition. Very good fundamental. Now, Gus wrote it off, but Gus is smart, because what I've seen is a number of coaches employ a lot of that stuff as part of what they do now, from the short drop-offs to the short kick-offs a lot more. That was all the Walker brothers. And, nothing's ever brand new. But it's the coaches who are able to adapt to the time and to the flavour and to the way the game's refereed, and able to adapt to that, and then look at what they've got in their squad, look at what's available, and come up with a plan to bring those players together and to play a style which is going to get you competitive, make you hard to beat, and then hopefully win way more games than you lose. And that's effectively what the progression has been. And you just can't deny it. And anyone who wants to sit there and say, oh, now we're throwing our season away, isn't looking at the big picture. This isn't the war. The war is not going to be won on grand final day this year. It doesn't end there, right? Imagine if Penrith's only, their war was 2020. Because I can tell you, they did things thinking of the bigger picture as well. And, you had to get there first. That's the most important thing. But they wanted to get there forever. And there's a chance they can go 5 in a row still and win 4 games in a row, not been done yet. Can they do it? Maybe. Maybe they can. But this team, the Dogs, are getting better and better and better. I don't care what people think. Each game, they're better in their wisdom. They're better in their mind. They've learnt more. I know people get sick of hearing, we've learned some lessons. I can actually almost do a Serrato, but I can't right now. I've lost my voice too much, but he says we're learning lessons. It's a fact. I know it's cliche, but he's not lying. They're learning lessons. They're getting better, becoming better players, better people, better understanding. And, for some, the journey's going to come to an end with the Dogs. But for others, it'll just be the beginning. And I'm very excited. I'm very excited about the future as well as right now. I'd love nothing more for the Bulldogs faithful to get another grand final, to get a prelim and get a full house. It will be absolutely amazing. And, it'd be great if it's, people will just hate us, but that's fine. That's fine. They can hate us as much as they want. If it's not meant to be this year, it's not meant to be. But let's get those boys go out there, and whoever they pick, trust they're the best players for the team. Sometimes players fuck it. Is that acceptable? Sometimes. Sometimes it costs you a grand final. Imagine being, Jamie Ainscough. When he lost the Dragons a grand final. What about Ben Hunt? He's gone on to do a lot of great things since then. Sometimes it's just not meant to be. They're all human. They're all doing their best. We may never win another grand final again. Imagine that. It's hard to fathom, isn't it? Seemed a lot further away. I can tell you now, when I was sitting there, I don't know about you, but 2020 in COVID, when I'm sitting in those stands in Brisbane watching the Bulldogs just trying hard, losing in high-scoring games against the Rabbits, against the Sharks. We were down like 18-0 and fought back. Couldn't win a game. I think we won 3 games that year. Somehow didn't get the wooden spoon, but we were the worst team. And I just couldn't see. I just could not for the life of me see how we're going to get out of this. I'm like, even when we get this war chest that they're talking about, it's going to appear, they're going to fuck it up. Because the fans are going to want more. And then you see that, they sign Luke Thompson on $800,000. He's not acclimatised. Break him straight away. Just trying to give us fans some hope, right? Because hope's important. They're doing their best. I get that. But I'm just like, I'm going to keep supporting them. 21, wooden spoon. 2022. We got Burton and the Fox. Things started looking up. Even we won the first game, beat the Cowboys, should have beat the Broncos, lost to. Then he started changing his halves. So that's when Barrett was under pressure. That's when he was like, "Oh, I'm fucked." Wakeham comes in, starts the game off great. We lose by a point to Manly. Go to Melbourne, get flogged 44-0. I know it like it's yesterday, guys. And I can tell you why, because I don't take anything for granted. And the fact that we've had so many fucking great days this year with the Bulldogs, got to watch them sing that song 16 fucking times. Right? We've got to watch them sing that song 29 times in the last 2 years. And we've still got a potential 4 matches left. Right? 4 or even 5 if we lose the first semi. So don't ever take that for granted, because I don't give a fuck if you think you're mediocre for having I don't have low expectations at all. I have faith that they will do their best, and out of that we'll get more better performances than bad ones. And hopefully that relates to us getting a premiership and a lot of them. But they're hard to win. And I get why people say we've got a comp to win this year. Why are we changing things? Because what we had, they didn't have faith was going to work. And they would know. They fucking know. Trust me. They're the experts at it. They know. I'll tell you now, the players would know too. As a group. Anyway, there'll be a lot of people, if we lose, saying, "I told you so." Well, I don't give a fuck what they say. I'll be just saying we just weren't good enough. We weren't ready. Already got it ready to say. But privately, there'll be, if there's moments that are missed, I see that as much as anyone. And that's what the lessons are. And maybe they're lessons that they've got to learn. But we should not be writing this team off. And I've got a feeling they're going to do something pretty special for us. Just worried about Melbourne next week. Yeah, see, that's another thing too. When you're playing Melbourne, that's why I understand why people want to rest players and stuff. But if the coach doesn't want to rest players, it's the right move, right? Because it means that his team, the team mindset's everything, and that's what I'm critical of this year. Is that mindset has changed at different points of the season, and that was before Galvin got here. I saw it, but after he got here as well, I'm telling you, they believe in this kid, and so do the teammates. And they've rallied around him, and they ask him if he's okay, if he's all right. Because I can tell you now, NRL 360, who were all about mental health and promoting that, and all about, poor Kyle Flanagan, and I agree with them in a way. Has any of them asked how Lockie is? No. Not one. Not one. Sure, if they thought about it, they might. But none of them have checked in on him to see if he's all right with all the shit he's copping. Nah. Isaac can look after him. It helps get your content out to a new audience. Look for real rugby league views. Cheers, brother. Yeah, it'd be fucking fantastic for a prelim at Homebush. Would be absolutely the best thing. I'll do a GoFundMe and you can get me down there because, I've put all my money into my son for this weekend. And he deserves it. Taking him down, something he's been wanting to get for the last 4 years. I wish it was a car, but it's not. Shrek, evening, mate. Odds on Marnie returning to the starting squad would be feeling fresh from the last couple of weeks. Yeah, well, I thought it could definitely be a possibility, brother. I'm thinking round one of the finals, he might start and play the first 20, take the heat out of the game, and then bring Bailey on. But these people saying that the stats, like that we're better when Reid comes on at the end, well, they're the same people that were saying that we're better when Bailey came on at the end. As far as our attack goes, it just goes to show you how much work they do in the start of the game to give you those opportunities late. But, yeah, it's a possibility he might play, but all I'm just saying is prepared for the fact that he might not. He might get dropped altogether. They might bring in Turpin. And I'd be just like, okay, obviously the best move. Obviously the right move. So, yeah, that's what it just comes down to, guys. What's the best move? D, no one's been rested. Maybe beating Buzz's Sharks might just be like a grand final for Ciro and Gus. If only. Serrato's a smart coach. The club is where it is now because it's evolved. Evolution doesn't come from doing the same thing, and sustainability doesn't come from short-term decisions. No, it doesn't. So that's what I was talking about, this week-to-week stuff that we ride every game. Like it's, I know Serrato rides it in a way that like every game is hard and every success should be celebrated. But the big picture is that a loss is part of that journey to becoming a winner. And they haven't climbed the summit. They're not. Penrith are sitting at the top of the summit, guys, looking down, chilling out with the best view. And I don't even know if we've got to the edge to even pop over and see what they're doing up there. Once we climb up there and knock them off their perch, it's not just about ascending to the top of the ladder or getting to third place. It's about being able to compete and win when it counts. And we've got players in our team who know what that's like. And we've got players in our team who don't know what that's like. But that doesn't mean they can't do it. But they got to prove they can do it. And that's why they're not getting a rest, guys. Simple as that. Simple as that. But let's look at. I know I've taken a long fucking time tonight, and I wanted to be quicker than this. And I'm going to get Gas on. We'll get D on occasionally. Timmy will come back, I'm sure. We'll get Brad on again, and Joby for sure more often. And what we'll be doing is just being a bit more structured. So I'll have, and these are some ideas that I've got. So I have someone going through the chats and understanding, and keeping us on track with the agenda that we'll have and with the chats. So I'm not repeating myself and answering the same thing over and over. That's just me trying to be respectful to everyone on here. But it's not getting the best bang for buck. Keep the faith. G'day, Gasson. And that was Gasson's idea. Exactly, just happy. There's a saying, changes, stability, stagnation. Well, you get the picture. Very nice. Sound like dogs are fine-tuning their attack, trying new shit Then come finals, bam, I'm imagining it now. Yeah, there'll be something there, guys. If it's not, it's not. If that's what it is. But as I say, just like when they keep turning it back and doing the repetitious move into the middle, you saw that in the Roosters game. They did it the whole game. And then what happened? Bronson Cherry gets turned in. Before that, Bailey Hayward runs for the first time, actually takes a direct attacking run through just off the middle of the field, down the edge, makes them all look stupid, passes to Filiami Kikau, he scores adjacent to the posts. The comeback's on. Then what is it? Burton drifted across back into Bronson Cherry, busts through Radley and a few others, scores under the posts. Then what happens? Burton does the same thing. Well, then Marky Mark, who said it's okay to call him that, so I will. Not to me, but to the commentators of the game and stuff. He scores that try, which was we didn't like too much. And then Birdo back through the teeth again. I know it was a little bit slippery and stuff, and that all helped, but we just fatigued them all game and didn't really have to show too much. The only sort of card we played that day was Bailey Hayward running the football and showing what great footwork he's got when he wants to use it. He's not doing that all the time. He's done it probably twice since and been threatening. If he's doing that all the time, it takes away our surprise element that we need, because we don't have Nathan Cleary. We don't have those players that are proven, that have done all the reps for a decade with each other of breaking teams down and then putting them to the sword. They just know how to do it, and they've done it for a long time. The Melbourne Storm will just know how to play through the middle, get the speed going through the game, and play rugby league, play quality rugby league and score quality tries. Roosters, same thing. Their whole system is basically like go out there and have fucking fun. Harlem Globetrotter shit from the juniors all the way through to the seniors. The problem is that for some reason they're unable then to sort of string it back and keep possession and put teams to the sword in a tough game, which is why they won like 2 of 30 matches against the top 2 teams over the last 5 years or something. So when they hold the ball, they're really hard to friggin' beat, because they've got speed, they've got toughness, and they've got so much attacking ability. You just got to accept that. That's the way it is. What have Canterbury got? Hard work. My mate said the other day a really good saying that I need to fucking read, but I might keep it for you for another time. But everyone's waiting for the magic dust. Something about hard work. It's fucking great. Loved it. Sheesh, good listening to a strong supporter. Keep it up, bro. Cheers, mate. By the way, you're in the big show. That's it. And hopefully the Warriors get to meet us on grand final day. If we beat Storm in the finals, regardless if we get eliminated, it's a successful season. My grand final is those scumbag Storm. Yeah. I sort of feel the same way, Brian. I would call that a success, but this season is a success for me, regardless. I've seen the blueprint. I've seen what they can do. I see the quality of juniors coming through. Everything's a lot more clearer than it was last year, and we just need to see them tested in these scenarios. Hopefully, come out the other side with a win or a couple of wins or 3 wins in a row would be lovely. But if not, obviously it'd be sad if we cop floggings in these games. But that's just a reality check, isn't it? Doesn't mean it wasn't a successful season. You get finished third in the comp. with some of the ways they've won some of those games, sometimes twice in a game. That'll only make them burn and be more hungry as they were this year. They got revenge against Manly in a really good way. And close losses to Broncos, to Storm, to Penrith. We're so close, guys. We're so close. And sometimes you just got to be close. And then you get to that point and you just get a little bit closer to the point where you go past them. I watched that Newcastle Manly win in 1997, split competition. How many times did the Knights beat Manly in the 2 or 3 years leading up to that grand final? I'm pretty sure they didn't beat them once. And they got them in the last minute. And trailed most of that game before tying it up and then scoring. So came down to an old backyard play that him and Matty used to do all the time. Get to marker and then pass it to the person playing the ball. Unbelievable. That was probably the best. I was really happy for the Cowboys beating the Broncos. It was almost like I was a Cowboys supporter that day. And even Canberra against the Tigers, I felt sorry for the Tigers, but watching Steve Jackson score that try. Penrith, when they beat Canberra in 91, I thought that was massive. So there's been some good ones. Never been impressed by Melbourne. They shouldn't have made that grand final. That should have been the Bulldogs, and I think we would have beat the Dragons. Ricky Stewart should have won another grand final. He should have won a grand final at 2 clubs, in my opinion. And same with Bradley Clyde. Reid has better skills, just not off mark speed as Haywood. How you going, James? Reid's got a faster pass off the deck, and he's good for getting the ball on the advantage line to a team running onto it. You slow down the play the ball. When he comes out, he's slow, and he's been poured out for that more than any other player in the comp that I've seen ever, where teams have spoiled him since 2023. And a lot of that comes down to fatigue as well, and his mental frailty through redlining all the time. But playing against Para, it took him like 2 or 3 games to be able to deal with that. They just got in his head every time. And so it's not just about his skills, it's about his mindset. And look, I'm talking out my ass from the fact that this guy, as far as a Trojan and as a warrior, as a human, is fucking way better than me. He's walking the talk. He fucking busts in his ass every day for his family, for his career. He deserves every bit of respect. But when it comes down to analysing what's happening out there, that's what I see. Not everyone sees what I see. Some people see things differently. But, I think that compared to some other players, he doesn't have, for 60 minutes, he's got 60, 65, 70 sometimes. He can handle it. If we maintain a possession and the game's easy, no problem. But when it's a really tough battle and it's a even share of possession, or if we're under the pump, Reid's snapped quite a few times, not in the right way. And that's probably why he's not going to be at our club. In fact, I can tell you now, they definitely, I've said it 100 times, it's a fact, they wanted him for next year, at least. I just think it comes down to we can't pay what the Cowboys, the Cowboys believe he is everything that he thinks he is, and that means he's gone to the right place. There's a world where Storm go out in straight sets, lose to us, then lose to Penrith week 2, 100%. They're in the same position as us. And for the other teams, they'd love that world where Penrith, Canterbury and Melbourne are basically knocking each other out. Because I expect these games are going to be full-on battles. Look, I think the Broncos will actually beat the Storm this week, although the history of it the Broncos should be 100-1 based on history. But I just feel it just comes down to whether they hold their nerve. If they can hold their nerve, they've got I think they've got a better team. But Harry Grant, Ryan Papenhuyzen, Jerome Hughes, and Cameron Munster in your side. Harry Grant won't be there. I think that's a big deal for them. Just like when Mitch Kenny doesn't play for Penrith, they suffer big time. Struggle to win. Grant is so important. Hughes, very important. Munster, very important. Papenhuyzen, probably the one that they can manage without the most, but still very important. And the difference with those playmakers is most of those playmakers do control the destiny of their team. So they share the involvements of when the points are scored. And for a big part, they're very important in the tries they stop, which also gets overlooked. And then you add to a player like Tyrone Wishart, that's sort of like his development, and players like Trent Liero, their development has sort of taken them to that level where they're almost premiership quality again. Or they are premiership quality, they just got to knock over that one hurdle. But I still think without Harry Grant, they are vulnerable, especially with Hughes only playing one game this week. But so he's playing this week because if he was coming in fresh against the Bulldogs next week, they're not going to go as well. So they'll be a much better team with him having a run this week. I don't think Harry will. I think Harry Grant coming off an injury is different to Harry coming off a 2-week break. So I don't think they'll lose too much from Harry. But they might. That residual fitness in some players makes all the difference. Timmy, but let's get this. I said I was going to share the fucking screen and I didn't do it. I keep getting distracted. Share screen. Let's look at it. How big's that? All right, let's go. Bulldog Sharks. We'll quickly go through the team stats. Now, 2 games ago, the Sharks in the NRL era led us 20-19 in games played. We've won the last 2, winning the last game was the best performance we've had against the Sharks in a very, very long time. 20-6 at Shark Park, an absolute ambush of all proportions. But there were a couple of things that went in our favour. KL Iro was playing well, got injured and had to go off at half time. And Talakai replaced him, also got injured almost immediately after that happened. And that's going to take it out of your team. Once we established control, established the lead, they just weren't able to, they were never going to win. It was just as simple as that. I expect a much tougher game this weekend. We just don't know if it's going to be a game where if the Broncos win and they can't get 4th spot, they're going to rest some players, okay? And that's where we might as well. But if they're a chance for 4th, their best 17, whatever that looks like for their coach, that's who plays. There'll be no resting. And that's the same for us. I think we might give a couple of guys a break. So I think come Thursday, before, like Thursday at 7:35. I'd expect we might change one player one player will come off the bench maybe, or off the extended bench and start, or be brought into that 17, and one will drop out. I think that might happen on the Thursday. And then on the Friday, if the Broncos have won their match and win the top 4 spot to play the Raiders, I believe, and that's where they may play on the Saturday, but you'd think the Raiders would want a 7-day break. I don't know. That's when I think the Sharks might say, hey, we're going to rest a bunch of blokes. And the Bulldogs, come that day before, will probably, the 2 people they keep on their extended bench might be players that are brought into the team an hour before kickoff. All speculation, but yeah, I think we'll replace at least one player in the 17 and potentially a maximum of 3, depending on Thursday night's result. So that's what I think. But the 24-hour team, I suppose they can drop a few more out if they know, which that'll be Friday, so they'll know the result. So maybe they might even drop more, but I doubt it. Just doubt it. It's going to happen. So they've conceded 21 points a game and scored 25. We've averaged 22 points and conceded only 16, which is the best in the comp for our conceded points. Tackle efficiency pretty much the same. Play the ball speed similar. But look, our oppositions play the ball speeds look faster than they are, and that's generally because we're pushing them back a lot of the time. When we're doing well, that's, the percentage gets right up there of tackles where we can drive teams back, and they might get some post-contact and then we cut it in half because we drive them back past where they were. Or when that happens, we restrict their meters, which is really good. But they might get a fast play the ball from when it's called held, which comes up as a fast play the ball, but we've already got our line set and everyone's sort of happy with what's going because we've been able to drive them back and make the play the ball take longer overall, even though the play the ball speed was actually faster, if that makes sense. Because they're not timing it from the time you start getting tackled. It's timed from the held call, from what I've been led to believe. And it does matter. These things matter. They won't tell you that it matters, but it does. It's just a stat unless you talk about the context of the stat. And it's not the same for everyone. Connor Tracy probably needs to play. William Kennedy. So they got Kennedy, Katoa. They're a better side with Katoa. Ramian's back. Kale Iro, they're better with him. He's got a high ceiling. That's a great centre battle, that is, both sides of the ruck. And Mulatalo will be up against Chihuahua, we would expect. And Trindle and Hines will be looking to get a roll on through the middle. Pardon me. Where they can take advantage and get some aerial combat happening. Anari played quite well for New South Wales Cup in the right centre position last week. And Jonathan Sewer, who I think will be a Bulldog for many years, quite confident in that from word around the club on how he's been going. I'd expect he'll be top 30 as well, but I don't know that at all. No one's going to tell you that stuff from the club, but they will. There's a lot of confidence in him. And if you watch the New South Wales Cup game against the Dragons, his performance was absolutely outstanding on the left edge. He's played right edge most of the year at either right centre or right wing. He played left centre. And honestly, the footwork is something to behold. Flick passes to Brini Karma. There's such a talent there, man. But the defensive stuff's what it's all about. And people are talking about left side, right side, and even I've done it. But I went through all the statistics. 15 of 17 tries are scored on the left edge. Sorry, 15 of 17 teams score more points on the left than they do on the right. And 13 of 17 teams stop more tries on their left than they do on their right. So the right edge defense, obviously coming up against the left edge attack, is where you learn a lot of your lessons. So Critter defends in the hardest part of the field. So him and Preston in the halfback, Galvin, and then it'll be Tuala probably on that right edge. They're defending in the hardest spot. So when you've got players in reserve grade spending a lot of time on the right, effectively they're working on their defence. And this is all marrying up with what I've seen and going back through the games. And then you see him play left when I haven't seen him hardly play left at all. And absolutely killed it. Absolutely killed it with the footy. Like, you just saw a player. I thought it was Willie Tonga, the way he was stepping around there. Just made it look so easy. What a talent. What an absolute talent. But anyway, people say he should be in the first grade team. No, he's on a journey. And when he's earned that spot, he'll get it. Until that happens. So look, Nico Hines, Braden Trindle, very good halves pairing. They've got a great back line. They've got a premiership quality line. But the problem with their team is that in the big games they've not proven it. And is that going to remain the case? Because there's still a chance of the top four. If they get to that top four position, that might be all they need. So, does Canterbury want to... It all just comes down to what either side believes from what they take out of the game. That's what matters, not what the fans think or the commentators think, but what these boys think when they come out of that game. And I just think that the Bulldogs, I think it is going to be a blockbuster game, and whoever runs out there, I think they're going to go 100 mile an hour. They're going to look to tune some things up. I don't think they're going to play all their cards, but they might show some. And, Blake Brayley running a lot more from dummy half than he had. Bailey and Reid barely runs the footy in 2024 or 2025. Bailey's not doing it much either, but they both might do it at certain points. You never know. We need Maxi and Sam to step up. Now, Sam might come out for DSF. We'll see. Daniel played 40 minutes in New South Wales Cup as well as playing 20 minutes against the Panthers on the Thursday. So he backed up a couple of days later. So he got some good minutes into him, which is great. So Tilly Tupanu, I think, look, for me, if you're going to ask me who the keys to this match are, obviously we need to make up for the loss of Carraz through our back three, and that's essential. I think we'll see a lot of effort coming in from Cherry. Crichton, I think, will only, he'll help out when he needs to, but I don't think he's going to be the one running 300 metres in this game. Not that he normally does. He'll just use his leadership qualities, try and make his tackles, inspire the team, and do something special with his playmaking or running when the opportunity arises. But as far as doing all the big work, I think we'll see it from Cherry, Tuala, Tracy and Montoya ahead of Crichton. I expect to see Matty run a fair bit. I expect to see Galvin kick a lot again because that's just going to prolong. Birdo, you can see he's strapped up constantly. He's done his MCL. We saw him hyperextend it the other day. So, getting Galvin doing a lot of kicking is important. Getting Hayward doing more kicking is important. And having the likes of Max King and Sam Hughes get off to a good start. Really give it to Cronulla Blake and Rudolph. Now, Billy Burns playing well, so they've got that mobility happening. Teague Wilton runs a great line. They're missing the Cora. Jesse Colquhoun's a fantastic young talent. And I think sort of might actually add something more than McGuinness. He can't beat experience, but I think he just adds a bit more. Like, it might be time for him, if that makes sense. It could be a point of difference for him. And we just want to see Jamin Salmon just bring the intensity for the whole time he's on. And Jacob Preston, you can't expect him to score 3 tries every week he goes out there, but really good for him to get some confidence and break some tackles. But for me, it's this bench again. So they probably want to give this big fella Puru a run. Talakai was great off the bench on the weekend. Hazelton does well. And Braden Hamlin-Uele looks to me like he's shed a few kilos, which is interesting. And he scored a try as well on the weekend. Daniel Atkinson, again, the 18th man, which is a running joke on that parody site on Twitter, Fox League. He was even named 18th man for the bye. So, so Tili Tupanua plays a big part for us, as we know. And he went after this Shark side that day. He absolutely went after Toby Rudolph when he come on. And Rudolph was a bit fresh. He hadn't played much footy. And he played quite aggressively too. Like, he didn't shirk the task at all, which is what you expect. I like Toby Rudolph. And Cronulla Blake he's just a monster to handle always. So, look, they came out. They looked like they were going to dominate us after about 5 minutes. We just started slow, just made the tackles, held on, and then got to work. I think we might have lost Saluka Fafita early in that game too, I think. Or was that the year before when we lost Masili? Can't remember. But yes, Josh Curran, it was great to see him running hard on an edge. Really good penetration. And it was great to see his combination with Lockie Galvin. They linked up to score, and he threatened quite a few times. He only had about 7 runs or something, but they're all quality, and that's what matters. And obviously Jacob Preston, the other side, was fantastic. Kurt Mann was another great game from him, just putting in the energy. So, yeah, we just want to see Salmon's energy match Kurt Mann's energy, and you get that over both their first 2 stints. What you get is, for us, a great platform to launch off. For Salmon, it's a lot of the off-the-ball stuff. Kurt Mann, we want him on the ball as much as possible. We want him taking the hit-ups, asking questions, linking up with the halves, and doing what he does well. And maybe you do see a game where they might start Kurt Mann and benched Jamin Salmon, but that's not really the pattern. There may be an opportunity for Jake Turpin to get a run in this game, potentially. And I would think, look, if there's 2 players that are going to come in, I think it'll be Curtis Moran and Fafita, with potential of Jake Turpin next. I don't really see Jethro coming in. But, and a big but, if they rest Birdo, they might move Bailey to, I doubt they will though. They'll probably just bring Sexton in and play Galvin at number 6. Although Toby, it doesn't matter who's wearing what. Toby will probably play 5'8". It doesn't really matter. He might get a run as well. A lot of sentiment around getting Curtis Moran a go, giving Toby a go and Reed starting. But I'm all for that if that's what happens. I don't think there'll be any sentiment in the selections that are made from Cameron Serrato in this match. Yeah, he was absolutely phenomenal, Timmy. He was absolutely phenomenal. And I've only just said it after reading your comment from half an hour ago. G'day, Scotty. Sharks in 2022 was second, went out in straight sets. They sure did. And they haven't really come back from it. Silly reminds me of an animal. Robbo. We're a good football team. We deserve our spot in the top 4. Yeah, we've earned it, Scotty. We've definitely earned it. Howard has more of the mark speed out of dummy half is why they drop Reed. 100% success. I duped that last year. They won up last year. Okay. Here's my finals prediction. Lose to Storm week 1, then beat Penrith week 2, then fall short against Raiders week 3. This is a success for me. I said top 4 and prelim is good. And welcome, Abraha. I have Melbourne beating Raiders in the grand final, a close one. Raiders remind me of the 2012 Bulldogs. KO weeks run similar like Ben Barber, but a Bellamy master plan will prevail. It's all a possibility, my friend. We can beat any team on our day. We sure can. Doggies in the grand final for Knox. Put that positive energy out there as a supporter. That's it, brother. Melbourne have not been Melbourne this year, says Gasson. G'day, bro. For all the pumping up by media, etc., they are like everyone else, extremely beatable. This season will be defined by who can ice the key moments. And maybe it's about timing for them. And that's what it definitely might work out for them. But if not, if they go out, you just look back and just say they don't have the formula right. And to be honest, they shouldn't really be getting as much. Like, I, for the life of me, don't understand why I don't get any sort of criticism. The coach comes out and says he was embarrassed and their attitudes weren't right. They conceded 40 and a half. Yeah, I know. They're missing their main players. That's what happens. And people say, but they had half their team. The Panthers had none, but the Bulldogs could only score 24 points or 28 points. Different context. Because the Storm were trying to win that game from the start to finish and were playing in their style. They weren't kicking it out at the halfway line just to get the ball out of play so the Dogs couldn't get any return meters for 40 minutes. They played hard. Those guys played to win. They led 10-0 at halftime, and they just cracked big time. But, I predicted they would lose the Storm. Not having Harry Grant and Jerome Hughes is just too hard on their team. And they rested a whole bunch of other players as well. So they're always going to get flogged. I thought 40-10 was what it should have been. Doesn't mean the Roosters can't leverage from that and do something that no other team's done and win from outside the 4, because they've definitely got the roster to do it and they're pretty much all healthy. And getting Sam Walker back for them is a big trump card. He brings a lot of confidence, and when he gets his kick placement right, and just the questions he asks and not knowing what he's going to do when he's not knowing what he's going to do can cause things to be absolute chaos. KO Weeks, yeah, he's had a really good year. Going back to Abraha, very good year for him, and I can't believe Manly let him go. I think no matter what team we play in the grand final, we would outnumber their fans unless we somehow were against the Wars, which would have been a cracker if they were full strength. Did you hear how Buzz said the Panthers gave the win to the Dogs? Buzz's agenda against us, but I like him. He's funny. Well, Marty, I'll show you. I definitely know that he did that. You know why? Because we wrote an article. We wrote an article. We did. So I'm just having a look at something here. Do. We love to party. Sorry, it won't be too long, guys. So, yeah. There we go. Let's show this. See that? Buzzers, Bulldogs bias, the gift that wasn't. So we definitely saw that, brother. And we did a whole thing on it. Canterbury were gifted the 2 competition points. I just don't like it. So it was never about the competition's integrity. It was about Buzzers Sharks, Buzzers predictions, and Buzzers' obsession with tearing down Gould and the Bulldogs. And why does Buzz really hate it? Those 2 points made it harder for Cronulla to secure a top 4 finish, which is a fact. And even more damaging for Buzz, it ruined the storylines he had spent weeks preparing. He was convinced Gould's gamble on Lachlan Galvin and Bailey Hayward replacing Sexton and Marnie would collapse and the Bulldogs would slide out of the top 4 and his Sharks would rise. See, he was banking on it. Oh, but I trust Cameron, but look, instead the Doggies stayed safe because we got to play the Panthers reserve grade side, which is no credit for beating them. No win for us. Doesn't look at that. The Sharks were boxed out and his anti-Gould articles lost their punch. Resting players isn't new. The outrage also ignores reality. Clubs have been resting players for years, and after 27 brutal rounds, coaches know their squads need to be fresh for finals. The NRL has never cared when Origin players are stood down or when stars miss games through suspensions from questionable fines or when coaches rotate players to manage fatigue. It's suddenly because Canterbury benefits, Buzz calls it a gift. It's a broken argument because Buzz's proposed solution is to give the top 6 teams a week off before the finals. That doesn't solve the problem. Coaches will still rest players once ladder positions are locked in. And the real problem is the length of the season. After months of physical and mental grind, finals-bound clubs will always take the chance to protect their stars, especially when they know those stars have earned every right. Buzz's alternative world, if only Buzz could suggest making the season longer by rewarding 9th and 10th place with final spots. No team in the NRL era has ever won 4 consecutive finals to take the premiership, and expecting a lower-ranked team to win 5 in a row against opponents who enjoyed a week off is unrealistic. It's a ratings idea, not a fair competition idea. Poor Buzzy. At the end of the day, this was never about Canterbury being gifted anything. It was about Buzz's Sharks missing out and Buzz's dislike of Gould. Penrith's decision to rest 16 players was a tactical move that plenty of other clubs would have made, but for Buzz, it became the perfect excuse to point the finger at the Bulldogs once again. So that's D actually helped get a lot of that content and put it out there. We just prettied it up and released it as a Dogfather article under the All Things Bulldogs media, which we're kicking off slowly. So there you go, Marty. We not only heard about it, we smashed it in the face as best we could. Doggy whoop. Buzz Rockfield will not whinge against the Raiders, resting 10 players, gifting Dolphins a win. Yeah, we might have to play with that. Well, it's not as if they rested their whole team, Kenty. Kenty, are you up your tree again? Do you want me to climb up and see if we can see Adam Elliott doing a nudie run? I love getting up in your tree, Kenty. Get down, Buzz. Oh, come on, Buzz. I want to hear Mick's impersonation of Buzz, best I've ever heard. There you go, Scotty. You've got it, mate. 24 minutes after you asked. Hopefully you hung around to listen to it. There's a few players wearing strapping. They should rest dogs. Cover my ears. If we're a bit more patient attacking, we can put some points on the board. I feel we have some unused weapons, secret tactics. Finals a whole different game. The defence against Penrith from round 17 was very good. I've not seen it since then. I wonder if Serrato is saving it. Oh, I don't know if he's saving it. I think it's more of a case that we've had a lot of tough games. You know, when you lose closely to a Broncos side, similar strength, in an Origin period, that's the whole thing as well. We had Origin. You know, they're trying to say we lost 4 out of the last 10. We lost 5 out of the last 10, but we won 7 out of the last 12 since Galvin's been there. That's not too bad. A lot of teams would be happy with that. That's, you know, you get off to a great start. Origin period hits. You have a lot of players picked for Origin. You have players suspended. Players are injured at the same time. Plus your blood new players at the same time. Hasn't ruined our season. We just had to deal with some challenges, and in my opinion, we've made the top 4 in a clear 3rd spot. Well friggin' done. Great job. Well managed. And they got to blood some players. They got to form different combinations. They've got confidence that they can rely on some other players if the best 17 that they believe is going to do us the best job is unable to do it due to injury or suspension. We've got players there that could come in and give the team confidence. That's just well done, you know. We're missing Carraz and Harry Hayes, but we should be able to make up for that. You know, Panthers lose Brian Toto. Very hard for him to make up for that. So Carraz, I sort of rate almost the same way. But that's a big opportunity for players like Anari Tawala and whoever else gets a look in. So let's be positive about that. Should be a dry track, hopefully. Winning first week of finals is crucial. Hopefully we can go all out so we can have a week off. 2004, I think the Bulldogs lost to the Cowboys, didn't we? After getting second in the regular season. I'm pretty sure that it wasn't the same McIntyre system then, though. Because we were second and played 7th. That's right. But then we had to go on and win 3 in a row to win the comp. So you can do it. Still means you got to play 4 games, but you just got to win 3 in a row is all that matters. And that's the good thing about finishing top 4. That'll be good. If Dogs can get their game on Friday, they can beat any team. We can, and that's the great thing. They've shown that they can compete, and if they do a few things a little bit differently or a little bit better, they can win. G'day, Mughuss. Welcome. I hope giving Sharks just so we can wedge it up Buzz hard. Yeah, well, look, whatever happens in this game, I know it doesn't mean, to me, apart from injuries, I suppose if it's good form, it's going to make us feel more confident. If they play well and win, we're going to feel better about it. Definitely, that's what I want. But does that mean we can't win 3 in a row at the semi-final time? No, it doesn't. None of these precedents determine the outcomes of anything. Okay? They give fans confidence. They might give the players confidence. If a precedent strips a team of confidence, yeah, it can have an effect. But at the end of the day, you write this Bulldogs team off. You write any of these teams off, and they're going to pull your pants down at some point. So we'll be behind our side to give it a red hot crack. And that's all I can ever ask for. And you won't hear me blaming the coach if the guys can't outperform their opposition on the day. Not to say that the coach's rotation was right on the day or even the selection was right or wrong. It doesn't fucking matter. It's a learning experience. We haven't proven ourselves yet. We're not the real deal until we are the real deal. And that's when you win a final, you make a prelim, you go to battle, you leave it all on the paddock, and you're able to walk off there and say, you know, we were good enough to get to the big dance, and then you got to do it all again, or we've come up short, but we know what we've got to do next time, and that's it. That's it. That's what it's it. That's what it's about. You should watch that 2014 Dogs Melbourne elimination final. Everyone was writing us off. Andrew John said Storm and morals. Dogs do not have enough points in them. Of course we didn't. We went and smashed them. Not only did we beat them, we smashed them. And most of the Bulldogs fans were calling for Dez's head back then. Because they were all, Tony Williams looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane. Fuck me. Until he smashes someone, until he scores a try. But I get it. We spent whatever we spent on him, and we didn't feel like we got bang for buck. I get it. But he gave his all. And remember, he was a winger to start with. 7 is as tough as they come. So I heard another rumour recently, which is true. We nearly signed Ryan Pappenhausen years ago. And he might have even verified that. And yeah, the person who had the call on it was told, I think, by someone else in recruitment or whatever, that he's got no heart, got no courage. He's proved to be one of the most courageous fucking players you've ever seen. As much as he's been injured. But look, I think if he doesn't play for, if he plays for Canterbury, I don't think he becomes the player he is at that point. So he goes to Melbourne, 4th or 5th in line, that far down the pecking order. And all of a sudden he's their first choice fullback. You know, he's got Nico Hines in front of him. He's got all these players that were in front of him to start. Scott Drinkwater, Cameron Munster, Billy Slater. It's hilarious. He is, Scott. He's tough. And look, he's tougher than you even realise. Poor bastard's damaged himself for the rest of his life. He's in pain 24/7, like a lot of the players in rugby league are. But that's when you realise how tough they are. They are barely walking, let alone out there playing NRL. You want to see Galvin do some short attacking kicks? He's done a fair few. He's got a lot of repeat sets. He's actually had a much more effective kicking game than Toby did this year. Toby had that game against Parramatta where he was forced to kick from his 30 for about 25 minutes straight in both halves, which he kicked 1,000 metres. But as far as his little short kicking game, he kept getting blocked. He couldn't get it through a lot of the time. Got a few. I've seen Lockie get his repeat sets. I've seen him turn teams around. I've seen him, you know, that first try we get against the Roosters, he's turned a team around, got a repeat set, then we've scored off the next set. You know, that's not, no one's talking about that. He's just going to keep evolving his game. And look, see, I watch all the podcasts, so I know where our audience goes as well and what you say and listen to and on Facebook. And, you know, I know some of you actually hold back a little bit on here, but basically all I'm giving you is something additional to consider. Doesn't mean it's always right. I might fucking talk like it's 100% right or it's the only opinion that counts, but it is just another side of the story for you to consider before potentially going out there and saying something you might regret. But it's always so easy, isn't it? For it, I could be doing this all the time. I could be sitting there saying, "Yeah, well, Marnie should be starting," but I'll back the coach. Marnie should be starting. Then we go out and win the grand final with Hayward there starting. And then everyone's like, "Oh, we were wrong. I guess we were wrong." That's why he did it. Trusting, we're back on the bus. Trusting Gus. Trust Serrato. Because it's easy to be fucking wrong and go silent or be wrong and just, own it. But everyone wants to be right about writing us off for some reason. I know you don't want to be right about it. I get that as well. But the amount of I told you so shit that comes out on the Facebook stuff after every loss, that's why people like Buzz do what they do, because of us in what we do. So if we can be better or just be a little bit more controlled, have your opinion, do whatever you want. But maybe sometimes we don't have to go out into the public space and tell everyone how fucked our coach is or how crap our player is or whatever. Because there's no bigger judge on a player's performance than the player themselves, for the most part. Here's the big three we're playing. I hope Moran gets a run for his last game for the Dogs. Well, he could get a game in the finals too, Dave. So we'll see what happens there. I'm sure he'll keep training hard and we might need him. But, yeah, I've got a feeling he'll come in just for his mobility. Look, and that was another thing last week. Like, they played Daniel Salika-Fifita, Sam Hughes, and Max King. Now, they don't normally do that, and they're not going to do that all the time. They played Salmon for the first half for 40 minutes. They replaced King and Hughes with Tupanua and Mann. Left DSF off for a fair while. Brought him on for 18, 19 minutes. And then brought Marnie on, I think, for the last 27 minutes. And then Bailey moved into the small lock position. I think he played 66 minutes. So, yeah, there's lots of stuff there. I think Moran was definitely a big chance of playing last week. But because we're playing that Penrith side, they thought they'd give the big boys a few minutes to get that fitness up as well and to keep them rolling. They'd be having injuries that they're dealing with and they'd be trying to keep themselves fired up for that. So that's the thing that not everyone realises as well. And I've learned a little bit about that over the last couple of months, reading the coaching book and just reading a lot of stuff, having conversations with people who have seen it firsthand. They're playing in immense pain. Every club have got players that are just absolutely busted this time of year. And sometimes giving them a break isn't the best option because it's too hard on them mentally to deal with the pain and not being able to play, because being able to play is just the absolute goal of what they want to do and what they love, and they'll do anything to do it. Put yourself in their shoes. All they want to do is play and win. That's their whole life. Playing, winning. And, yeah, so big decisions always for our club and for every club out there to keep players on the paddock, especially when they're busted, wanting to give them a break, wanting them to go and get a fucking surgery, you know what I mean? They're like, no, I'm not doing it. Okay. They go out there and they have a blinder and it's, oh, fucking hell. Yeah, well, I'm not even sure if, that's Marion Seve. He goes all right. He's tough and he plays above his weight. But, yeah, he's look, you expose those edges when you break down their middle and you get them move, get them tired. That's what the game plan is, and that's what we're able to do. We just have to make sure through the start of the game and that we don't let them get those rolls on when they can just get down to our end and be smart about how they go about trying to control the game. Because teams just don't always just go out there to blow you away, just like the Dogs don't do it. You can let a team off the hook by just playing out the back because you see that half opportunity. And sometimes it's an all or nothing thing too. The next minute you hand and field position back on the 40 metres off a set start and they're just into our end, and then they get some luck. They put a competitive ball up. We knock it on or whatever it is. And then all of a sudden we're under the pump. Whereas if they just take it back on under the arm, under the inside, bang, 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 complete their set, put it deep, and then keep them under pressure and force them to play around us and to change the flow of the game through either all-out attack or taking risks. If they're good enough to take those risks and achieve something out of it, so be it. But the law of averages is what it's all about, and that's what this team, the Bulldogs, is all about. Playing the law of averages, playing their game, putting it where it's got to go, being in the area of the field they want to be in, and playing and just daring teams to go with them. And that's, to me, is absolutely the key to our success. Does that mean we're going to do that in every game, though? No. Maybe we might go out in a certain game and go, bang. How did you like them apples? Did you see that coming? And I've got a feeling we're going to see a bit of that, guys. I really do. He is a rat, James. Back page rat. Ashley Klein is a ref. Hope he'll do good. Yeah, you never know with Ash, mate. You never know with him. I feel like Buzz and Sutton have sleepovers at each other's houses. Well, they really like to be relevant, don't they? Sutton loves to be the most important person on the field. No worries, Scotty. Who's the referee for this week? I think it's someone just said it's Ashley Klein. Don't think our attack is a problem. It's a discipline errors. Fix those two up and we win the comp. Oh, I think we've got a big chance of winning it. But sometimes the discipline and errors are a result of losing the ruck, which is another thing as well. So if you're not at 100%, the other team's getting it over you. The referee feels that the other team's got the momentum, hands them penalties, and that sort of shit. Lets them get away with things, lets them get a forward pass away because they've got momentum. They can't score off their momentum. You'll notice in 50% of times when that happens, the team that's just defended back-to-back sets gets a penalty out of their own end because the opposition that was just had the ball gets too desperate in defence. One player moves up too quick and they call the penalty. They get too late in the game, though, never call it. And that's just a common way that they manage the game of rugby league, as well as giving the 3.5 second count. And look, you remember like Brent Tate you could see him counting when he'd tackle someone around the legs in a one-on-one tackle and hold their two legs together. And he'd count to 3 and then let go. In Origin, I swear he used to count to fucking 4. And he'd never get penalised for it. You're impressed? That's good, brother. Phase returns. Who do you think drops out? I think it'll be... I don't know. If Curran proves himself this week while he's out, look, if Hayes gets back week 1 of the finals, I think he gets his spot no matter what happens this week. But if it's week 2, I think you'll probably come in for either for Hughes or Curran or Salmon. I don't see there's also a chance they take Armani out. But the reason Marnie's there is because if any player in our back line goes down, we've got Hayward who can move the halves, Burton who can move the centres, other players can move to where they've got to go. Tuala can go to fullback, Critter can go to fullback if Tracy's out, for example. Like, there's just so many ways they can move it. And Reed Barney moves to hooker because you've got Bailey there who can play in the halves. So you've got all those options. That's why we carry those players. We need to carry 2 small locks. Once we develop a big lock, so let's just say Jack Todd develops into a ball-playing lock. I'm not saying that's going to happen. He's a bigger body, and let's say he can play 80 minutes. Actually, I'll give you another idea. Let's say Lachlan Galvin in 2 years' time weighs about 96 kilos instead of 85. Kurt Mann's likely not to be there in 2 years. So the way we play our game will be different, and our rotations will change, and who we carry on our bench will change as well, because we won't carry a Salmon and a Man. We'll just have our 13, hopefully Galvin might develop, or Burton, or whoever it is, into that 13 who ball plays, also takes runs up the middle, also runs a little bit wide on an edge sometimes, offloads in traffic, all that sort of shit, and does it for 80 minutes on his head. And he's an extra link with all the halves and all that sort of shit. When you've got that, it means you don't need a Man or a Salmon type on your bench. But guess who they'll carry? They'll carry another hooker, most likely. Why will they carry another hooker? Because if you get an injury in your back line, we'll have someone at hooker who can move into the halves always. And they'll never forget that. As in Bailey Hayward, I'm talking about. Be able to move into the back line. It also allows us having a Leo Thompson who is a big boy who can play long minutes. King, a big boy who can play long minutes. Then you've got a Tupanua on there. You'll have a Harry Hayes. And instead of having a Kurt Mann, you might have a Jack Todd and another hooker, which could be a Mitchell Woods at that time, right? Might be Mitchell Woods on the side. Or maybe Mitchell's gone into 7. Burton's there. We might have Cassius Tia trying out in that capacity. Who knows? Whoever it is, they'll be able to come in and either play in the number 9 or just move straight into the halves. We'll be able to shift players around, but that'll be a different rotation. It'll be a bigger pack. So when people say we need that extra forward, well, no, because we don't have enough 80-minute big boys. It's not about their size. It helps if you've got big boys that can move laterally, keep making their tackles, keep making their runs. That helps. That helps everyone. You got those boys in your team. You've got a 13 that can play long minutes, play 80 minutes, like at full pace, I'm talking about. Right? Then you don't have to carry that extra small guy. You can carry a few players. But you want players that when they come on, that add to the intensity, not drop it away. So they're able to add to the intensity, but do it for long periods. And that way you've got your rotations work a lot better. So this is where it'll evolve once we get developed players. We get to buy Thompson, but we get to develop these players like Underhill, Hopboy, Hayes, all these players that are developing, Jack Todd, Latu Finau, those players will be the ones that come through. The only teams Raiders haven't beaten this year is the Cowboys and the Dogs. Kind of thankful we didn't verse them week 1 because they would want a revenge. Yeah, well, they're going to want it any time. So if we lose, we could be coming up against them in a prelim if they win theirs. And look, they haven't proven a thing either, the Raiders. They haven't proven nothing. And Ricky knows that, and he'll be telling them just that. And they're resting some players because they can. Like, they won the minor premiership. They've got some proven players in their side who probably benefit from it. Who've played a lot of, origins, who have played international games. And it's just, they also travelled to Las Vegas, then played in Darwin and everything like that. And they didn't get a bye for like 17 games, which is ridiculous. But I suppose one team's not going to get a bye for 17 games, are they? This time it was them. The fact they got through that, they've beaten every team but us in the 8. They've had a wonderful season. And look, in my opinion, they've earned it, winning the minor premiership. But as far as winning a grand final goes, they haven't earned shit. They haven't proved anything. And they've got it all to prove. And for me, they'd want revenge. But at the same time, it's not every day you go down, you lead a team 20-0 in your home ground when you got a full crowd, and then you give up 32 points. It's sure to leave a bit of taste. And the fact we beat them at Belmore, the fact we've nearly beaten them in 5 of the last 5 losses that we had against them, even when we played shit, there's a long history there. And I wouldn't mind playing them. If we don't win, we don't win. I'd prefer to play Canberra in a grand final. Because in my opinion, Dogs or Canberra winning a grand final would be good for the game. Warriors after that, probably. If I was going to lose, it'd be to them. For the greatness, for the betterment of the game. But everyone else, they can fuck off. So there you go. I feel Andrew Johns always speaks negative about us, doesn't seem to like us. No, he hasn't liked us since we kicked that goal. So, see, the thing about the Bulldogs, is I've said this before, but I've just listening to some ex-players talk, especially living up here, just I can't believe that team did what they did like in 98. Can't believe that team won in 95. Great club, built on hard work. You go watch some of the kicking games of Terry Lamb and go, that's just Shomozzle in some games. But that was across the board. Balls were different. I get it all. Tougher game, harder game. Fuck, every time there was a break, he was there. When a big tackle needed to be made, he was making it. Best player of all time, in my opinion. But the point I'm talking about is that sometimes we just, they just underestimate us, mate. That's the big thing. And their egos can't understand that they've got these mates that are just fast, that are talented. They had these big packs. They were just dominant teams, but they couldn't beat the Bulldogs. They just used to look at us like shit. Broncos are a little bit different. They used to look at the Bulldogs as the benchmark, and we were the last team that they beat in the NRL. All right. So from when they come in 1988, we were the last hurdle that they cracked. We just had a habit of beating them. Only the Warriors, the only team that have entered the competition and beaten us the first time they played us. For most sides, it's taken them quite a while. So it's a good record for you to understand, which I might have said before. But yeah, Johnsy, he can write us off all he likes. I think Andrew Johns is very honest about what he thinks at the time, but he doesn't pay attention. He's off his head, medicated to keep himself normal. And that's part of him being at his best. And I think he's come a long way. But as a coach and stuff and as a tipster, you just can't listen to it because Bellamy knows what it's like to teach someone how to be the best version of themselves. Johns doesn't. He's probably the first to admit it, but he just doesn't understand how an average player or an average human being or whatever it is doesn't just know to do the things that he knows and what he sees. He obviously doesn't know how to teach it. They'd probably do his head in trying to teach it. Because you sit there and you watch and you go, what are you on about? But it's like the head high stuff. They've been doing crackdowns every year, but this year he finally goes, talk sense about it, like real logical sense. And I actually tried to get a message to him via one of his co-hosts because he doesn't have any social media. So I did the old slide and I put a big thing like block me after this. Just letting you know, can you show this petition to Andrew Johns because I really love what he said. And don't know if he did. Probably just deleted it and blocked me as I told them to. I didn't read this. Sorry, buddy. I missed that. I don't know why, but I just sense the Raiders have already overachieved this year. They managed to win almost every close 50-50 game, some in great fashion. That is Sharks, Magic Round, and Panthers, etc. Yeah, I don't disagree, mate. Pappenhausen grew up watching the Dogs and had a 04 Dogs jersey. He sure did. The Dogs should be forced to rest players this week. How can they be gifted 2 points? But then when this week they are in the same position, they don't rest players against the Sharks, whoever they play. Dickheads. He hates Hazem El Masri Amir. He nailed that conversion and sunk his hopes. Yeah, I reckon you're right, Scotty, too. I reckon that burn him. Just like Gordy doesn't like the Dogs either. Because the 1995 Dogs, he believes the refs cheated so that the Dogs would win that game against the Dragons. Could you imagine if Bulldogs player did what Reece Walsh and Shibasaki did? It'd be everywhere. 100% it would be. King needs a break, I think. Maybe. Yeah, it can flatten you out a final series and that. But he was crook against the Roosters. And he was a lot better last week. A lot better. And I think he'll rise for the finals, my friend. Perhaps when I was a teacher at my school, his entire family are Dog supporters. Sevo won't be playing in the finals, but yeah, no, because they've got Will Warbrick back in the side. That's right, and they've got the other fella there as well. Starts with the H. No, I felt Cherry's been good the last 2 games. Actually, Amir, if you watch the intensity of his runs. Last week probably didn't do as much, but training run last week, guys. Like seriously, the intensity was there in their defense and stuff. Don't get me wrong, our defense was good. Fell off a couple of individual tackles, which annoyed me. And then it was that mindset thing. Like we were sort of about to go on and put 4 or 5 tries on them, and Curran sort of, after playing a really good game, runs down the left edge and throws a beautiful pass into touch. And they score off the next set. So, and that was a great pass by Dane Laurie. No, I think Cherry played well against Melbourne. And we'll see him step up. He's made of the right stuff, Bronson Cherry, I reckon. 100% reckon that. No, I don't think he has. I think he's definitely struggled with injury in the second part of the year. And yeah, but if you watch his intensity of runs against the Storm, really run them hard. See, I don't rate the performance in line breaks and that sort of stuff. I rate it in their intensity. So Connor Tracy against Manly was his best game. Now, there was 4 offloads he tried to do in that game too, which I don't think any actually burnt us. but they were really poor offloads. But he was trying something, right? He wasn't afraid to fail, but his collision into the contact in that game, he inevitably got injured at the end internally, was just something to behold. And I was like, that's the next level. And since coming back from injury, I think every first run he's had is it's like, fuck, I need to get through this and I need to fucking go harder next time, but fuck, that hurt. I've just been looking at it, man. I've been watching it. I've been watching him on isolation. He's just not quite where he was. And I think even Critter coming in and doing a bit of that attack stuff is not just because we need that, but I think it's also because Connor's still trying to get back to his best fitness-wise. So, but that's just my interpretation. Don't know 100%. We have the slow play the ball speed in almost every game. We are also the most penalised side in the comp. Yeah, Tam, I saw your post on Facebook as well. I'm pretty sure it was you. And I 100% agree. We are the most penalised side and we have the most possession. So that means we actually penalise at for every set we defend, we're penalised more, way more than the opposition, because we've held the ball longer than any other team in the comp. So that means we've allowed the opposition to have less time than any other team in the comp on average. So I hope that makes sense. So if we're only defending, let's just say 25 sets a game, when most teams are defending 30, but we're getting penalised the most, it's even more exaggerated how much we're getting penalised. So for us to maintain possession and cop all those penalties shows there's either a lot of bias against us, but to own that stat, you've got to say, to be accountable, we've pushed the envelope. But look, it's not always slow. A fast play of the ball average is probably 3 to 3.2 seconds. The average for most teams, it's 3.4 to 3.6. And when it's slow, Origin slow play of the ball is about 3.8 to 4.1. And you're probably looking in the final series, it's going to be around that 3.6 to 3.8 or 3.9. So it tends to be a bit slower because they let more go. I'm going to have to finish this up, guys, in a moment. I'll get through as much as I can here. Karen was really good at it. Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's right, Tiam. So they concede less penalties, but they've conceded more points, which means there's something in that. See, that's when you look at that, that's context in the stats, Tiam, and that's a really good way to look at things. Not just say, oh, yeah, they got this many points and they got this many penalties. And just look at the stats in isolation and go, we're better there and worse there. Actually slice them together and say, hey, well, that means there's either something we're doing with those extra penalties which is helping us, or we're actually overachieving in our defence considering the amount of penalties that we give away. If we were to give away less penalties, does that mean we're going to be even harder to beat? Or is those penalties part of our strategy? That's what we've got to determine. But as I always say, it doesn't matter about what the penalty count is. It's when the penalty is called, the tackle that it's called on, and the position of the field that it's called on. So everything that I look at is in context to when it happens. And if that's what you're controlling, that's what you're working on. You're not saying, oh, we need to get our penalty count down to 5, guys, this week, okay? It'll be when we're playing this part of the game, we need to be better in this situation right here. Because too many times it's getting to the 4th and 5th tackle and then that's why I hate 6 agains, because a ref can sit there and give you an extra 2 tackles where and that's called 2 ruck infringements. But then the other team, when they get down there, they get an extra 10 tackles because he calls them on the 4th or 5th tackle. You know what I mean? This is the context that people don't look at. They just look at numbers in isolation and then spin some shit for people to digest. It's fucked. I reckon educate people on context. That's why these podcasts are here. And that's why people are going to want to have started tearing me down. I've been getting trials. I've been getting fucking, I'm getting some foots in the door with the media, but that's not always going to be because people want to help you. Sometimes they want to hinder you because they want to put a focus on you to tear you down as well. But we'll see. We'll see. I'll take on the challenges where I can, and I'm just a fan with something to say and have a chat with you guys and give you a voice. And that's why people from these groups get to come on and participate and be co-hosts as well. Sherry just needs a bit of space and you won't catch him. That's it, Scotty. Hayes had a grade 2 hamstring. There's no way he'd be back by week 1. That's even with top level recovery, 4 weeks minimum. So there's people not only in our club, but forget it. Let's not look at which club they're in. There's people with grade 3 tears of things, grade 2. There's people getting needles left, right, and centre, where they're supposed to be having 5 and 6 weeks off recovery, but they're playing. And that's across the comp. And that's been happening it's happening in park football every week. These players are getting paid nothing, but are getting all the accolades at the pub later on, and the few ladies hanging around and whatever else. I shouldn't say shit like that, but it's just a reality. At the local, the RSL somewhere, or the pub or the tavern, wherever it is, the leagues club, if they're lucky enough. And half those players are fucking, need surgeries or aren't going to be able to walk in 2 years because of what they've done to themselves. May not be fast, but I can tell you now that some of the contacts, some of the shit they're dealing with is just as fucking much as any of the NRL players are. And they deserve nothing but respect for what they put themselves through for our benefit. And that's exactly what it is. They get paid well, and that's why they do it. But we're very lucky to watch this gladiatorial game, win or lose. We're lucky to be a part of it and to have people willing to go through the pain that they fucking go through is so terrible. If you would actually understand and knew. So if we get people ever come on here who've ever played, or people who have played at the highest levels anywhere, fucking ask them about the injuries people were carrying. Is Harry Kay's got a grade 2? They might have said it was grade 2, might not be. We don't know. People have games off that just need a rest, or they've got a personal issue that they're dealing with. Oh, yeah, he's got a grade 1 something. Sometimes part of their resting policy to rotate players, I think Harry will be back at least the second week, maybe next week. Would not surprise me if he comes through his rehab. He's ready to go. But being hamstrings, just to go a full circle, maybe it's better to wait, but they'll know. There's a rumour Critter signed a 7-year contract with the Dogs for like 1.3 million, but it's just a rumour. We're not signing Critter for 1.3 million. I'll tell you that now. If that comes out, it won't be 1.3. It might. Look, they might go, we're going to give you a 7 million, a 7-year deal extension that starts now. That's it. So all I would see on this TR, and I'll hang my hat on it, and if it's wrong, I'll give you a book, because I'm going to get some books from Lee, and might do some competitions. We're also going to look at doing some awards nights for the Bulldogs as well. We've gone 3 hours, which is a long time. Just call me Denon Kemp, call me the bloke in the bar, just talk shit for 3 hours. Contract with the Dogs for like 1.3. So, yeah, look, he's got, I think he runs until the end of 2027 would be his deal. 4-year deal, 23, 24, 25, 26, 24, 25, 26, 26. Yeah, so he'll run out 27. If they upgrade 26 and 27 from, 800 to 1 million, that's your 300 grand right there, right? So they start it next year, for example. And I'd actually expect to see an extension happen. If they sit there and extend him for 5 years past 2027, which would take him to 2032, that would mean it would work out at 1.3 million per season, because you get a 300 grand upgrade, potentially. Oh, that'll only be 1 year. Yeah, it's not going to be 1.3. Sorry, I'm just trying to work it out in my head. He's not getting 1.3 from Canterbury. I'll tell you that now. Unless he can prove he can play fullback as a great fullback. We'll give him, I reckon, 1.1, 1.2 maximum. I think 1.3 just goes over the limit. But if it's 1.1 over 7 years, start now, that would work out to be about 1.3 a year. So, don't quote me. It's been 3 hours. Yeah, I didn't forget that. I said that, brother. I might have said it afterwards. Nah, we're not going to pay 1.3 for 7. I can't see it. It'll be, might be 7.5 million over 7 years, but starting next year potentially. So that'd be about 1.1. And I think he'd be happy with that, honestly. He's playing centre. The cap's got its thing, man. If he's playing centre, that's probably why, if he comes out and he's able to play fullback in all of its elements and contribute to the scoreboard, he might get that 1.3, but I doubt it. I don't think the board will be ratifying that anytime soon. Just saying. That's it, TM. Until he's an established. Oh, no, he's our skipper and he's worth every cent, but I've seen Gus let go of some of the best leaders in the comp who have then gone on to win comps elsewhere. Luke Lewis, who was a winger, ended up being an edge back rower and a lock, who very much influenced his Sharks team in 2016. I feel it's sort of blessing in disguise. We lost to Melbourne when we did. The boys know we can get these guys on their home turf. No, he's not worth 1.3. And the club's not valuing him at 1.3, just so they're not valuing Reid Marnie at 600. Because obviously Reid, if you look back at his snap, he's having brain snaps after 60 minutes in big games. Not by design, by fatigue in the brain. Because he smashed himself for us, worked his ass off. I reckon 1 million's the go, 1.1. But if he's sitting there contributing to the scoreboard as a floating centre, plus he's a captain, and goal kicker, that adds another 100 or 200 grand a year for sure. And that's the context right there. That's what you got to understand. He's doing his defensive shit on one side of the field, hopping on both sides in attack different times, kicking goals, getting repeat sets, leading the team, motivating them, pulling around the new fucking, listening to the music they love, getting cranking, firing them up, making people believe they're the best versions of themselves, and touching the ball less than any other player in the team. Scotty thinks he's a $2 million player. Well, that's the idea of having a cap. You have a player who's worth $2 million and you give him 1.1, and they like it. Wear and tear in the body are usually for life. Sure is, Knox. Yeah, we can argue about this all night. It's people's opinions and their perspectives, brother. I'm more on your side that he's not a $2 million player, but I probably wouldn't swap him with too many centres in the comp. And I don't even know if I'd swap Critter for Cleary, to be honest. In saying that, I think Cleary's going to be still going to get better than what he is. Maybe getting an early holiday might be the best thing for some of their players. Andrew Johns reckons we don't have an X factor. If Burton kick out Preston Crichton is enough, I don't know what is. Well, there's definitely some X factor there, my friend, and you said it correctly. And I'd say Jacob Carrazis, there's a fair bit of X factor there too. Someone that can do 4, makes tackle breaks, line breaks, post contact, hundreds of meters, tough meters too, 4 or 5 offloads a match. He's bombed a few chances lately and he's had a few mistakes, so he needs to fix that up. Critter helped take us from 15th to 6th to 3rd. Nathan's got other leaders around. Yeah, Nathan's had all his mates around him his whole life. And that is a big help. 100% Scotty. But the system, Critters, it's all been together. This is what I mean. This is this world. Our world thinks that our Prime Minister runs this country. Or that Trump makes a difference. They think Superman can save the fucking world. It's a team sport, guys. It's a fucking team sport. This world's a team sport. The people who run it, it's a team fucking sport to them. It's not one person. We just put one person as either the hero or the fall guy every single fucking week. There's some life lessons for you right there. For the 50-year-olds and 60-year-olds who are listening, there's some life lessons for you. Take it. Run. Come back and see me when you're 70. It's hilarious just watching. I must sound condescending, like I think I'm better than anyone. I don't. I just think it's fucking hilarious that we feel we've got no power and all the powers with one bloke. Oh, my God. But it's nice, though, the narrative of it all. And look, I do it all the time. Serrato and Gus. But when you speak to Serrato and Gus, or speak to people who speak to them, they talk about all the people that they've put in their spots. So it's not just Serrato and Gus. It's Hardigan. It's fucking Luke Feller. It's Chad and all these blokes. They're all the trainers and all the development people, all the volunteers. Collectively, they do all their bit, and that's why we are where we are. But we want to put it all on one bloke on the field. Yeah, having the right fucking leader come in, 100% makes a difference, big time. But they can't do it on their own, and they don't. But we all want to fucking put it on the one person. And for the most part, that's just life. That's just the way it is. And it's easy. But take some of that and smoke it. No worries, Dave. Thank you. I'll just keep going and going and going. G'day, Macca. Do you think the coach and players know they're pushing the envelope with the play the ball because they expect different interpretations in the final series? For example, media pressure to put the whistle away. Potentially. See, that's thinking. That's context. And welcome, my friend. Welcome. That's thinking. Like, fuck. There's so much to it. We're going to activate Critter today? Oh, nah. Unless it's desperate. What about Bronson? Nah, you just do your fucking work today. Take your runs, and then we'll open it up for Montoya. Do not fucking throw it out there. Do not go this way. Look, don't stare a gift horse in their mouth, but we are sticking to this fucking process. They're going to think that we're fucking all this and all that. And then when the time comes, we pull their fucking pants down, we pull out the fucking machine gun, and we blow these fuckers away. Right? And that's coaching. It's coaching for a war, for when the battle's there that needs to be won to win a fucking war. That's when you do it, not before. Don't sit there and show everyone I talk about war tactics a lot because sport and that, it's all thought about in a similar way. Sometimes oppositions throw little things at you just to see what you've got. Just, they pop their head up to see what's behind the wall. And if the wall responds in a certain way, they know what they're coming up against, and then they go and exploit it when the time's right. Just like when they used to send the spotters out to see how many men were in the line. Fucking was hopeless, though. Oh, there's no one up at the front. Then all the people start marching and attacking. They just send all the gunners back to the front to shoot them all down. But we'll just send Kickow and Preston, meet them halfway and just smash them. It's good shit, this hard-rated orange, I'll tell you that much. Not my sponsor, but I will make a pitch to them. We play Origin-style football. Origin and finals at its best with ball in play and little stoppages as possible. They officiate Origin differently, just might be a wild cut for us. Well, that's what I was saying earlier, Andrew, about the time of the play the ball speeds, you see. And semi-final time's usually a bit faster than Origin, but it's slower and more lenient in the ruck for the visuals of the game. And it's that slow burn of fatigue. And that's why you usually see good impact from your bench players of both sides. Like it's a real battle that way. And then teams that are under the pump, they have to utilize their bench players as to come out and defend, which makes it hard for them. And that's why we pick mobile players who can play long minutes at high intensity on both sides of the ball when they're required. That's why it's the Origin mentality. That's the Phil Gould way. That's the Cameron Ciraldo way. In his way, though, not in Phil's. So that we've got all bases covered. And then when we get our opportunity, we've got someone who can kick us out of trouble. And that's why he's not kicking all the time. That's why he's not doing the Birdo bomb. I tried to explain that to some people. They really took offense, like I was talking down on them. I'm like, don't be worried with how I say it. Listen to what I'm saying. We are trying to... How come Birdo doesn't do the bomb every time? The commentators talk about it all the time. He's told you already. The coach has told you already. He needs to put it in the area where we can control our destiny or have the best chance or percentage chance to do that. When he kicks the leather off it, yes, it can create there's a higher percentage that the opposition team is going to make a mistake. Yes, but there's also a much higher percentage that the ball's going to bounce and go somewhere which throws our whole fucking plan out that we've just worked our ass off to get into that position. So we want to keep the fucking blowtorch on, which is also why when we've got the ball, we're not always in a big rush to absolutely throw every fucking move we've got under the book. Does that make sense? It's like, don't throw all your cards out. Hold them. Know when to fold them. Know when to hold them. I don't know how many more analogies I can come up with. But fuck, understand, it's not always got to happen every game just because we got to win. It's about preparing them for this moment when it's needed. And that's why we've got the bench that we do. It's based on the top 30 that we've got. It's based on the types of players we've got. It's based on with what we've got. We're doing the best with what we've got, who all believe in what they're doing and expect that they're going to win every game, which is far beyond what we've ever had in a long time. And that's why we can win, because they believe they can win. Big difference between believing it and doing it. But the good thing is, and I think what you fans have said a lot, I think what we've all agreed on is that they've been close enough, which is why I don't get all the criticism from people. We've been close in these big games. We've basically played the last 4 premiers, including 4. This top 8 this year actually represents, you look at it, the teams that have, apart from the Warriors, since 2016 or 2015, every team in the 8 has either won a grand final, played in a grand final or more. You know what I mean? You got the Storm, you got the Raiders, they've played in the grand final. The Broncos have played in 2 grand finals. Panthers have won 4. Storm have won 1. Roosters have won 2. And we beat the Roosters in 1 game, lost to them in the second. We beat the Raiders. We've won a half of football against the Broncos in 2 games. Lost both, though. Lost 1 to Penrith. Don't really rate the other Penrith win, but it's a win. You take it. Lost to the Storm. Now, if that doesn't tell you how fucking close we are, I don't know what will. And to me, what it tells our team is nothing but we can fucking do this. And as I said, Newcastle didn't beat Manly until the grand final for ages. So that's what's got to happen. You've got players who can go for 80 minutes. The last thing you want, which is what we saw during our tough period, is they bring on a fucking a Ren off a Tony or an Ofahiki Ogden or a Franklin Pele. When we don't have the football, we're getting smashed. And our bench comes on and they're big boys and they're good with the footy, but they have to come on and just defend. And after 10 minutes of fucking defending, they're looking for the water bottle. Like they have their whole fucking career as juniors, looking for the break. You know, they play their 20 minutes, they're out of puff, they run for the sideline. These days, they just have to pretend they got a head knock and get a free HIA. No, we got players who sit there, who come on, lift the intensity in defence, win the fucking game back, and then say, let's get back to work, let's go. Let's get back into this game. Let's get the kick going back the way we want it. And momentum turns, and we've turned it in so many matches. And at the very least, if it's been too much a hurdle to jump, we've at least give it a good crack or won the half, which has been really good stuff. And that's because of a mentality of 80-minute players who are brought up as 80-minute players and know that they can go the distance if they have to. And that's just the mentality of it all. And we're not the only team who does it. Scotty, I saw at Grove Senior at Group 6 semi-finals last Sunday. Should ask him about his radio station. He's actually releasing some good, sort of like instrumental music and shit too. Thank you, Scotty. Give Critter a contract till he's 50. Yes, lock him in. Do you think we'll extend Critter? I think we will, Amir. Take it you started on Albo. Well, that's the whole thing, mate. If you think Albo is running your fucking life, I'll tell you now, there's basically been barely two decisions that anyone could have made in the last 3 years that affect us now. But people won't believe me. We've got to blame an absolute cockhead. He's not the smartest tool in the shed, and he's got a bit of an ego. But I'd say there's collectively decisions made since Scott Whifflam and John Howard and everyone else over a long period of time have made life a little bit difficult in conjunction with the world environment. And we let them do it because we blame it on one fucking Prime Minister. It's hilarious, mate. Thanks, Timmy. I'm usually working Tuesday and Wednesday evenings, but I join the podcast, so I love hearing your wise thoughts. If you're thinking to have me on with Thursday's work, potentially, Timmy, we'll get you on here for once more before the end of the season. 100%, my brother. If we play the ball slow and ruck control is more lenient, it will benefit us big time because Melbourne love to have front foot momentum based footy for Grant. The Panthers love that too, Macca, funnily enough. And that's why Cleary's always been better in the NRL because they've been able to win that ruck. Having players like Appy in your team. However, they've sort of changed a little bit where they've gone, we just want a hooker who just throws it off the deck onto Nathan, and Nathan does it from there. And Nathan decides, or Isaiah. They're the two main halves in the team. Met up with a gambler on a train bound for nowhere. If they can't run downhill based off their own force momentum, Hughes and Munster lose their effectiveness. We need to drag them down to our level. Yeah, it's sort of like what the Panthers were trying to do to us. Make it stop-start, slowing it down, spoiling us in the ruck, getting in our face, putting pressure on specific players in the line, especially our playmakers, and made it look really scrappy. But, if they tried to play a normal intensity game the normal way they would, we win by 50, 60, just as a training run. They defended well. Gavin can run the line a bit too quick before he passes sometimes. Yeah, it's all right. It's all lessons, mate. All lessons, brother. I couldn't give a shit. He's going to do what he's got to do. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to get it right. But, one day I hope to see Toby Sexton throw a ball to win a match because that's what our club was looking for, and we didn't get to see it. My score prediction for this week's match, Bulldogs 26, the Sharks 12. My prediction will be Bulldogs 30, Sharks 24. I think it's going to open up a bit. I really do. Saturday night, though, maybe 24-20. We'll see. 24-20. We'll shake it back. But guys, that's me tonight. 3 hours and 23 minutes is not a length that I condone. But we've got Gasson here. He's going to keep me more succinct in the future. I think one of the main reasons Penrith rested against us was because we are a very physical team to play against and takes a lot out of you. Well, that's it, Gasson. You've hit the nail on the head. Scotty says 32-18 for the doggies. Good shit, Scotty. You've been listening to me shorts, mate. Playing a bit of Cog, bit of Tool, bit of Radiohead. Fucking love it. All right. Very physical team to play against. Takes a lot out of you. Yeah, well, that's what Nathan was saying. They basically conceded that it was going to be a fucking nightmare to beat us, and they just couldn't risk it because if they lost, they could have missed. They were potentially, they wanted to have an ability to have a real good shot at beating the Dragons this week. Now, it'd be quite good if the Dragons pull their pants down, because I think it would hurt their confidence with the young blokes in their squad. I think every team would like to see that, but the Dragons, who really fought hard towards the end, once they sort of fell out of contention, they've sort of gone off and said, okay, see us. We're 15th. Okay, well, we probably finish 15th instead of trying to finish 8th. Big improvers for next year, the Dragons, I reckon. Maybe I'm giving them too much credit. Michael says 500-1 Hines field goal. Have a great week. Thank you, guys. I'll try and get some more content out before the Sharks game this week. I'll definitely be recording something on Thursday with the rugby league coach. But that's me done. Big day tomorrow, and then I'm off to another state for the first time. Thanks, brother. It's time to go when I start singing. That's it, my friend. Let's go, Timmy. We want to keep it under 400. I think you were asking about 5 weeks ago if we could keep it under 300. I was like, fucking hell, mate. You're not asking for much. Thank you, Michael. Thanks, Scotty. Thanks, everyone, for joining. It's been a great night. 3 hours, 25 minutes. And go the Dogs. See you soon.